You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. In Disney.
Well, how often have you heard that? The end is near, right? We've heard it millions of times in the Jehovah's Witness religion. Well, hello, everyone, and I thank you for coming into our program tonight. JW World News. Of course, that's the news the Watchtower doesn't want us talking about. But as I say, we talk about it every Saturday night and every other Sunday right here on our exclusive little network that exposes the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Six Screens Telenetwork. So anyways, a lot is happening. I know I say it every week, but anyways, it is happening. The Watchtower is in free fall. I'm projecting they are dead. They just haven't fallen over yet. Well, my name's Rick Farron, and I'm coming to you from the apostate capital of the world, right up here in Boston, Massachusetts. And as I say all the time, you know, you guys write me and say, Rick, I wish we had a lot of apostates in my neck of the woods. Well, don't you worry. You're going to get a lot more apostates in the very coming days because more and more people are leaving the Watchtower. The Watchtower is hemorrhaging. So you can look forward to that. I'm looking forward to a lot of our relatives and friends throwing the towel in. Now, it's already been happening for me and my family. I hope it's happening for you. But I've got relatives, I can't say who, but I got a number of relatives that have contacted me and said, that's it. That's it, Rick. We've had it. So that's going to happen. What are you going to say to these guys? Well, what are you going to say when they call you on the phone and knock on your door? Now, don't be upset with them. Don't go pulling a shunning deal like they pull on us. Be very nice and kind. Kind of get in your head what you're going to even say. Kind of write it down so you because it's going to be a shock. It was a shock to me. One day out of the blue, I got a telephone call. Whoa, someone hasn't talked to me for 20 years. All of a sudden, they've had enough of it. In fact, it was two people. I've got more than two people that came out. I don't want to talk too much about it. Don't want to get them in trouble. But I tell you what, you're going to experience the same thing. And, you know, at first, your first reaction when I got a call, when I haven't talked to this person for 20 years, a very close relative of mine, and they started talking to me, they broke down crying. The two people actually broke down crying and was so sad that they couldn't talk to me for 20 years. That's 20 years that, you know, you kind of erased a person out of your life. And, you know, they're going to be in rough shape, a lot of them. So you want to be ready. You want to be ready to be able to talk to them in a nice way. The first thing I was thinking of, these guys didn't want to talk to me for 20 years. Don't let that run through your head. It's the Watchtower. It's the Watchtower that's causing the problem. It's not them. And you know, because when you were a witness and when I was a witness, you had to be careful. I did talk to disfellowship once, but I was cautious about doing it. Well, get ready because it's going to happen. Isn't that going to be a good feeling? Aren't you going to be doing the happy dance all over the place when that happens? Well, a lot of witnesses are already experiencing that. They're experiencing the fact that the Jehovah's Witness organization is on the way out. Well, let's talk about a few things here tonight. I'm going to talk first of all about the duck. I'll be very brief. That's our little rubber ducky, right? The duck's going to come down. If you call up the program and you say a word that is in our secret word sealed envelope here tonight, and you say that word, you can win points. Now, what you do is you gather the points. I'll tell you how many points you're going to win for guessing the certain word. And I'll give you a clue at the end of the program if nobody says the word. But you have to keep the points on your own. If you do that, and then you add these points up, and the first one that gets to 12 points gets $100. So you want to play the game. And plus, we have books. We have books like Jim Hill has been sending me. How about The Captives of a Concept? Don Cameron. We've got Millions Now Living Will Never Die. Friends, this isn't the actual real publication. This is a replica, but it's verbatim. Everything that Millions Now Living book said is in this book that's been reprinted. So you're going to get reprints. They're beautiful books. So we want to give them away. We also have some Watchtower collector magnets. Let me show you a couple of these. Friends, take a look at this. This is a collector magnet. It's all about the UN. And on the very bottom, they're numbered. This one is number 2. And I only made so many of these. I think I only made 30 of these. So if you get a collector magnet and you're going to get a lower number, you hold on to that. Probably 5-10 years from now, you could sell it on eBay for a few $100. We'll see what happens. But these are Watchtower collector magnets. We got a bunch of them here. So you're going to win points. You're going to get prizes. We get T-shirts. We get hats. So that's good. So play the game, the duck game. When the duck comes down, he gives you prize. All right. And also, I want to mention convention. Now, I do have a lot more people have been writing into me and saying, Rick, I want to come to the convention. It's the Still Alive in 2025 ex-Jehovah's Witness Convention. And it's going to be held right up here in Boston. And we are looking so forward to it. And so many people have been, they're starting to buy their clothes. They're starting to polish their shoes. Of course, we're 11 months out. But here's what you want to know. If you want to know all about the convention, where to stay, where you can eat, all of that, what you want to do is go to 6screensofthewatchtower.com. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put a little message on our board here tonight so you can see it. If you go to 6screensofthewatchtower.com, hit the convention page, you'll see a ticket there. And just hit that ticket or that convention page, and it'll bring you right to a link and tell you all about the convention. So if you'd like to come to the convention, the tickets are free. It's going to be August 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 2025, right up here in Boston. So try to make it. It's going to be at the Hilton Hotel right here in Tewksbury, Massachusetts. But all the information's on there if you want to come. And I got, even today, a bunch of people write me about it. So if you want to come, by all means, go ahead and do that. And let me just I'm going to put something up here as a constant reminder. It'll scroll across the bottom. So let me do that right now. You can see that scrolling across the bottom on YouTube and Facebook. And if you guys can make it up, we're going to have a good time. We're going to have I'll tell you what, it's going to be so joyous. It's going to be like a giant therapy session. And everyone's going to be hitting their head on the doorpost on the way out. Friends, we've got to make this a really, really good convention. And, this will be the first of its kind. We have enough seats for 500 people, 300 in the main auditorium. And then there's an adjacent auditorium. Well, not an auditorium, but like a hallway that we could put 200 more seats in. So tickets, anything under 300, you get a seat in the auditorium. Over 300, you got to sit in the auxiliary seating. So go ahead and get your tickets in. Write me for a ticket. They're free, like I say, and I'll email them off to you. Now, some people already got their tickets. Don't worry. I have you all those that wrote to me. I have you marked down. You'll be getting your tickets. We've been getting them out here as fast as we can. And we want you to take a picture of that ticket when you get it, and make sure you have it on your phone or take a picture of it. And so when you do come to the convention, you can show us what number you have, and there'll be no confusion. You'll get a really good seat. Now, we do have some speakers. I'm still working on the program, still putting it together. On Saturday afternoon, we have Barbara Anderson. She may be here in person, but if not, she's going to come in via the internet, but she can make it in person. She's coming. And also we have Fritz Springmeier. He's going to be speaking. Well, you know who Fritz is? He wrote the book, The Bloodlines of the Illuminati. So he'll be coming on at about 7 o'clock on Saturday night. And he's going to release a brand new book. As a matter of fact, he sent me a copy of it in its draft form, and I'm going to write the foreword for him. He says, Rick, this is all about the Watchtower, and I want you to write the foreword to the book. So I just got the book. I'm in the process of writing the foreword, and it looks like he's going to be releasing that book at the convention. A new book by Fritz Springmeier. We also have a woman coming in, and she's coming in, well, she's a professor of AI, Queen Anna, and that's her name, Queen Anna. I think I'm saying that right. And she's out of, I think she lives in Kentucky. I'm not sure, but she's a professor. She has a doctorate degree in AI, I guess. and she's gonna be able to give a talk all about AI, and that's gonna be Saturday afternoon as well. So we're still putting together the people that'll be speaking. I'm trying to get some heavy hitters, some authors, and people with. In fact, I'll tell you what. On Saturday night we're going to have a YouTube award night, and awards for authors and those who went on YouTube and for Facebook groups, all those that are making a difference, exposing the Watchtower. It's going to have a great time, a 3-day convention. So by all means, try to make it up here. All right, so let's move on here. We got a lot to cover here today on the 6 screens. And I have to tell you, the Watchtower, I've already said it's falling apart. It's hemorrhaging. I just wanted to bring this up. Has anyone noticed how worldly the Jehovah's Witnesses are regarding the new service year? Did you know the new service year for the Jehovah's Witnesses just started in September? Now, this is what you call a fiscal. Corporations do this, and the Watchtower has their year begins in September. So happy new service year is what's being plastered all over the social media sites, and all kinds of text messages going out to fellow witnesses, wishing them a happy service year. Might as well wish around Memorial time. You might as well wish each other witnesses, that is, a merry memorial. That could be next. But it's really crazy. And I mean, it's obliterating to many that this is even happening. It's happening so much that the witnesses are trying to find something that they can celebrate, something they can be merry about. So, they can't celebrate Happy New Year. My goodness gracious, that by saying Happy New Year to someone, that would be like you're some type of a devilish person. So I have to tell you that the witnesses, they'll take advantage of anything. They can't celebrate anything. At one time, they can't celebrate birthday. They can't celebrate Christmas. They can't go to a 4th of July parade. They don't celebrate Labor Day. They don't celebrate any holidays at all. At one time, I figured, oh, geez, maybe they could celebrate Groundhog Day. That would be a day they could get excited about. But I'll tell you what, I looked into Groundhog Day, and even the Watchtower has something to say about that. They have something to say about everything. And what they said about Groundhog Day, you guessed it, it comes from a pagan practice. So they can't even celebrate Groundhog Day. So they got to celebrate something. So they're celebrating the new service year. And friends, that new service year, it's starting off with a bang, but not in a positive way, in a very negative way. The Watchtower, friends, they are in deep trouble, really. And we're going to discuss some of the reasons why they are here tonight. But, I've also got information coming into the 6 screens that's showing me the magnitude of their difficulty right now. I am getting reports coming in from various people around the country, in the world really, on how they're now using teenage boys. They're appointing them to ministerial servants. Teenage boys. Now, maybe when you were in, you had a teenage boy as a brother in the congregation. I didn't, but maybe our congregation did. But now this seems to be a regular practice. And who is really making these appointments? Well, in fact, the circuit overseers, they're still visiting congregations. And in this one particular congregation that I got information that came into the 6 screens, the circuit overseer came to the congregation. And prior to his visit, he wanted all the sisters who had privileges. A lot of the sisters, because they didn't have brothers in some congregations, the sisters have been passing the microphones and they've been operating the Zoom meetings. So the circuit overseer in this particular congregation said, get rid of the sisters. They got to be pulled. They can't do it. And they picked in one congregation 4 young teenage boys for ministerial servants. How cute is that? I'm going to call it 4 new mini servants. Mini servants. That's what we'll have to call them. After all, I got to bring this up. Maybe that's showing disrespect for the Holy Spirit, because the Holy Spirit supposedly points these brothers. Now, can you imagine? I mean, the Holy Spirit pointing a young man like that? I'm scared. I mean, the Holy Spirit should be afraid of their mental health. That's what would come to mind for me. I'd be very afraid of the mental health of a young boy, not even 20 years old, maybe 17, 18, 19, maybe even younger. I don't know. But I would be concerned for their mental health. I mean, they will be exposed to stuff they're just not ready for. Well, like what? I mean, like you've been listening to this program. Can you imagine them hearing some of the stuff that the elders might tell them about certain ones in the congregation? How sick would that be? Are they capable of handling that? And just imagine you getting a shepherding call from an elder and a 17-year-old brother, and he comes along with the elder, kind of learning the trade, so to speak. And so they're having marital trouble, and the husband and wife are not really engaging in sexual activity. Let's go with this. I mean, just using this as a hypothetical example. So, the young 17-year-old brother, he's going to tell a 50-year-old brother and sister how they should behave. I mean, is this going to go over well or what? I don't think so. I really don't think so. So I'm thinking that all of this, it's going on in the Watchtower. They're off to this new service in here. Well, what else is going to happen? I mean, this is, for a while there, we just read a month or two ago, about 2 months ago, that sisters were going to be filling the gap. The sisters were going to be handling microphones because there wasn't enough brothers. But something hit the fan. Something did not work. And so the elders, at least the organization, I suppose, made the decision that it would be best to use young men than even older sisters. I mean, that's kind of a shot to the sisters, isn't it? Geez, you got some sisters that are a lot sharper than a lot of the elders. So they got to, give their job up to a 17-year-old kid. I'm just speaking out loud here because I'll tell you what, it just doesn't seem right to me. But I'm not a witness anymore. What they do is what they do. But I know it's certainly it's not gonna settle well with many witnesses. Now, also, have you heard about the annual meeting? Well, it's coming up in October. Now, the annual meeting usually the first Saturday of the month in October. And already the rumor mill has started. All kinds of thoughts are coming up. And why wouldn't they? And a lot of these thoughts, they're not just made up by the ex-witness world. They're also made up by the Jehovah's Witness PMEs as well. They're making up, what's the governing body going to say this year at the annual meeting? What are some of the rumors I'm hearing? Well, I heard. Now, it's just I heard it. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I heard that this year's annual meeting, they may suggest that you can celebrate birthdays, just no candles. I don't know if they'll go that far, to be honest with you. I don't think they're ever going to say it's okay to celebrate birthdays at Christmas, but the rumors are out there. I don't think it's going to happen. No, in fact, the witnesses that they can't partake of any worldly holidays. It's fundamental concept of the Jehovah's Witness teaching. When you think about it. Now, can you just imagine how many shocked witnesses there would be? Many would lose their faith. I mean, the governing body has to know this. I can maybe see them having new light on who can marry. Maybe they can loosen the rules on that. Maybe marrying non-believers. I think that could happen. But birthdays, that's kind of a stretch. I really don't know if that could be the case. Now, I'm going to read you something here about birthdays that I want you to hear, because it's I found this rather fascinating, because I took it off the dusty shelves here of my room here concerning birthdays in the Watchtower. Now, it says here, in fact, it's from a 1980 Watchtower, not 1980 Watchtower, and it would be the July 15th issue. It would be page 30. Now, let me just read you what this says about birthdays. This is why I don't think the Watchtower could ever stop selling. I don't think the Watchtower could ever say you can now celebrate birthdays. It says here, if someone in the congregation celebrates his own or another person's birthday, try kindly and patiently to recover him. Friends, they went into a deep sin here. They have to be recovered if they celebrated a birthday. Show him that birthday celebrations have frequently been linked with astrology. Christ Jesus directed his followers to commemorate his death, not his birth. This agrees with the principle stated at Ecclesiastes 7:1. The only two birthdays celebrated recorded in the Bible were in honor of wicked men. In each case, an execution or a murder was involved. An individual would not normally be disfellowshipped. Now, they're bringing this up. An individual would not normally be disfellowshipped for celebrating a birthday. However, if someone persists in strongly advocating the celebrating of birthdays or actively solicits birthday-associated businesses, thus openly encouraging such celebrations and hence creating division, disfellowshipping may be in order. But each case has to be considered on its own merits. So, it's a pretty powerful Watchtower article there. So I really don't think, but I could be wrong. I mean, the rumor will start and you wonder, but I could be wrong on this. So maybe they will start, but I'm not leaning too much in that direction. So anyways, I'm going to just check this, but I got to get out of the studio to the other one. Okay, so let me go over here. So I don't know what you guys think about it, but I don't think they're going to start celebrating birthdays, but it's something to think about. But the rumor that is also going around that they might discuss at the annual meeting is eliminating the weekday meetings. In other words, it's already happening in parts of California and some other places, mainly out west. And I'm getting information coming into the 6 screens here that is suggesting that some of the meetings have already stopped midweek in some of the western states like California, Hawaii in particular. Hawaii is really tanking. The witnesses are going crazy. They're not going to the meetings like they were before. So now they see, but I don't know even about this. This would just be one of these wild rumors you hear, because I'm thinking if you really eliminate the meetings, the Watchtower needs time for indoctrination. Just look what happened after that pandemic. The organization hasn't been the same since then, right? The pandemic where they didn't go to the meetings, all on Zoom, it destroyed the organization. So for the organization, these rumors saying that they're going to stop the midweek meeting, I even have to say I don't know about that either. I'm going to have to let you guys be the judge, and then we'll find out at the annual meeting. Now, you're probably saying, Rick, why do you even bring this stuff up? Friends, you have to bring this up. That the Watchtower is clandestine. The Watchtower is very secretive. But, I like to know ahead of time. I think it's good to kind of project, because some of the projections that some of our friends have made here on the YouTube videos and writing posts online, they've been right on. But because anything could be possible. And when did you think that they would ever allow beards? We know that's possible now. When did you think that women would start wearing pants at the meetings? Now that's possible. Did anyone ever think that wasn't going to happen or was going to happen? Where was your position on that? So, a lot of just to get to the point here with some of these West Coast English congregations, according to the information I'm reading here, they seem to be dying off the quickest. The more wealthier areas, we know out west in California in particular, certain parts very wealthy, and a lot of donations come from these wealthy places. And in the witness organization, they can't afford to hemorrhage people out there, so they want to make it lighter for them. They're trying to make it, it's not that bad. We're going to cut it back so it's easier for you to, with the high cost of things today and with the way the world is, maybe it'd be a little easier if we cut that meeting out. So it'd be interesting to see if they do this. But I'm thinking, my brain always goes in a certain direction here. It seems like the Watchtower, when they kind of suggest or kind of tell you before they tell you what they're doing, it's always for a reason. And I always see green dollar signs. They seem to always be doing things in reason. Now, I'm jumping to conclusions, friends. This is my own thought. That this is not anybody else's thought. I could be way off base with this. Who knows? But eventually, what I'm thinking, the Jehovah's Witnesses would like to eliminate meetings at Kingdom Halls altogether. Just think what they could do with that. Meet in a house, and have the TV in the house, in the living room. The brothers and sisters could meet there, and JW streaming can come across the TV, and that'll kind of teach you. And be like the book studies used to be. And they can get rid of all these congregations. They can sell them all off and make all the money, and yet at the same time, still have an organization. It's just a thought. It might be far-fetched, but I'm just thinking that's going to happen. They could put the meetings permanently on Zoom, and like I say, even on JW Stream. And of course, the PMEs, those who are really loyal to the Watchtower, they wouldn't look at this as a bad idea. They'd say, oh, see how Jehovah is speeding things up on the last day? He's preparing us for the great tribulation. He knows best. Jehovah knows best. And we don't need to have a building where the Gestapo can find us. I mean, this is what must be running through the minds of some of the Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean, this is just nutty stuff. But there's a lot of empty seats at Kingdom Halls. From what we're understanding, there's more empty seats in the Western halls. So that's a fascination to me. So sometimes I just think that the Watchtower is deliberately trying to destroy the Jehovah's Witness organization to some degree, so they can really get their hands on all of the Kingdom Halls. That comes across my mind from time to time. I don't know if anybody out there has any ideas on this, but I'm curious to get your thoughts on it. Would you? What do you think of this rumor? Now, still a rumor. It's not true yet, so don't take it to the bank and cash it. But if they only went to one meeting a week, that would be the Sunday meeting. They would drop the midweek meeting. This seemed to be one of the biggest rumors going on right now. So suppose this happened. Suppose they went to the one meeting a week. And then, of course, in time, they could just even eliminate that Sunday meeting, have it in a house where they still could be taught by jw.org and sell all the Kingdom Halls off. And at the same time, remain having a congregation, remain a company, remain a religion, so to speak, where they still collect money from people. What do you guys think? You think that's far-fetched? Go ahead, hit *6 on your telephone pad. I'd like to know what you think. There's a lot to think about there, I'm sure. And we're just thinking out loud. I don't think anybody really knows for sure what they're going to do. But that's my feeling. I mean, we know the Watchtower is money hungry, always asking for donations, trying to find more money in any way they can do it. So, anyways, we'll see what happens with that. Let me take a look here. Let me take a look in the Sunday meetings. Okay. All right. So, anyways, let's move on then. Okay, I do believe we have someone calling in. 813. Do you want to say something about this, Mike?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think it would be amazing if they canceled the Thursday meeting. And I was just as amazed when they canceled the Tuesday meeting, because remember how they always said the 5 meetings each week are like your 5 fingers. And that the only way you can hold on to the truth is if you have all 5 fingers holding on. And then suddenly they removed the Tuesday meeting, so I guess you're only holding on with 4 fingers. And now if they get rid of the Thursday meeting, you're going to be down to just 2 fingers holding on to the truth, I guess. But I do think that if I were to take a guess between birthdays and the Thursday meeting, I think it could be more likely the Thursday meeting, because just like you said, birthdays is kind of a major doctrinal thing for them to change. Canceling a Thursday meeting, doesn't necessarily break any scriptures and might surprise us, but I don't know what their end goal is if they only had one meeting a week. But then again, they've simplified everything else. I mean, service is down to, checking a box. And used to be the whole purpose of the Thursday meeting was to teach you to go door to door. But that's sort of gone by the wayside, So that's just my thoughts. I just think it's ironic.
Well, those are good thoughts. Those are darn good thoughts. And, we can think about, like I say, it's only a rumor and nobody really knows. But also there's a method to their madness. And one thing I've found in my 20 years of being on their trail, the Watchtower's trail, is they will drop little hints. They tell you before they tell you. Then they tell you while they are telling you. And then they tell you what they told you. So I believe we're starting to get little hints of what they're telling us, even though they're sending off, let's go with another term here. Let's go with trial balloons. Now, also, I do know this is a fact in some Western congregations right now, say California and Hawaii that I know of, at least there's probably others, but there's some congregations out there that have already have dropped the midweek meeting. Now, that
alone should be amazing, Rick.
Yeah.
Because now you're talking about an inconsistency. I mean, it used to be that if the congregation, and I know that there were congregations in New England, because I remember when I was in Chelmsford, there was a congregation that was disbanded because they said the elders were choosing to follow basically their own course of programming. They were ignoring, the assigned parts and doing their own thing. And they went in and removed all the elders in the congregation. So that's doing the same thing. If you're out west, you're still in the United States, there can be no justification why they get to not go to a Thursday meeting and the East Coast people do.
Well, now
makes no sense.
Well, here's the thing. Yes, in fact, it's hard to make sense out of nonsense. But here is the caveat here. Well, what you have here, according to the information coming in here in Hawaii and California, the organization is allowing. This is allowable. The brothers are not doing it on their own. This is like a trial balloon. They're saying they're trying some congregations out to make. See, here's what you have to do. If you got an organization that's so secretive and so sneaky, you got to send off trial balloons. You just can't. Okay, now we're going to switch this. They got to try it in certain areas. Okay, that went over okay. Now we can spread it for the rest of the country. So it's fascinating to say the least, but still it's just a rumor. Like I said, don't take it to the bank and cash it, but that makes sense.
No, I won't.
But the other thing that I think would even make more sense, and we've talked about here on 6 screens, I'm really leaning toward the fact that Watchtower is going to allow for sisters or brothers to marry non-believers in the organization. Now, this seems very logical to me. And there's so many threads that I come across, and as I research JW World News on sisters, they far outnumber the brothers. And any brother, no matter how young he is or how old he is, if he's made a ministerial servant, the sisters are all over him like a cheap suit. I mean, seriously, they are just going crazy. They're trying to grab anybody and everybody they can that meets spiritual qualifications. So, the poor sisters, and I'm saying that in kind of a tongue-in-cheek way, I suppose. The poor sisters, they want to get on in life. They did like to get married. They did like to have children. They'd like to live somewhat of a normal life. They can't. They got to be able to marry someone. Now, this would also help by marrying an unbeliever. This would help the Watchtower to bring new recruits in. Now, they're not going to let a person go out and marry a devil worshiper. But, I remember when I first met, I was 16 years old as a Jehovah's Witness young man. And I met a young girl in school that I liked a lot. And she became my wife. And I remember it was really bothering my conscience. Well, she didn't follow Jehovah's direction. She's not a Jehovah's Witness. I didn't know what to do, but it was bothering my conscience so much. I went to my mother. I was only 16. Let's face it, she's still a young person, immature. So I went to my mother. I said, Ma, I met a girl in school. I want to let you know this. I like her a lot. I like her a lot. And I'm just letting you know that. And the first thing out of my mother's mouth was, is she a Jehovah's Witness? I says, Ma, she's not one of Jehovah's Witnesses. No. Does she love God? That's the next question my mother asked. Yeah, well, she does love God. She suggests to me she loves the Bible. Well, how would she like to study the Bible? See, it's a shoo-in. I mean, they're not going to let a person go out and marry an atheist or an ungodly, womanizing, drunken person. But if a person has a propensity toward wanting to learn about God and the scriptures, I think the Watchtower would say, fine, do it, because they're going to get a recruit. They're going to get a recruit because.
Well, I agree that sisters in some cases, and I'm not trying to make a generalization about women, so I don't want anybody to get on my case, but sometimes women have a harder time making a living. I mean, it's just a fact of life. There are some jobs that just don't entertain women. You don't see too many women roofers, and there's not as many women truck drivers, and people doing some of the harder jobs, but that make a little more money to support a whole family. So I could see some of these sisters, being that, like you said, they want to start a family, but they obviously they need a husband, and they need somebody who can help work together, because usually today it takes two incomes to get by. So I can definitely see that as being an issue for some sisters. Now, they always used to just say you were spiritually weak if you married outside. I'm not aware. I've never heard of anybody being disfellowshipped on account of it, but I always thought they considered you spiritually weak. And if you were a brother, you probably wouldn't be considered for any additional responsibilities because you would appear weak to them. And they probably wouldn't let you use the Kingdom Hall to get married either, as I recall.
Well, there you go. I mean, great comment. I really do like your comment. And I like another comment I'm looking at here. I'm looking on a comment that was made here online. I like what Stee-Ann1 said. All the single sisters can live with me for free. People are funny. Well, anyway, thank you very much. I know who you are. I don't want to give the wrong name or anything, but I know, I remember you up here in Chelmsford, and so things going good in Florida.
Yeah, they're going real good. I had girls I was interested in my teen years, and they were interested in me, but I couldn't take it any further. My parents wouldn't have allowed me to do anything either, just like you. So, I mean, I was interested in them, and they were interested in me and wanted to date me, and but it's like I had to kind of rebuff them. Again, not that I wanted to, and not that I'm dissatisfied with the sister that I did end up marrying. My wife passed away a number of years ago, but because I got 3 children and 5 grandkids, so you can't regret any of that. They're all good people, and thankfully none of my kids are in the truth. They're all out of it. They want nothing to do with it. My youngest, who's 32, absolutely believes it's a cult. She was probably raised the least amount. The other 2 were baptized, but she was never baptized. And she was pretty young at the point in which we started to leave. So she didn't get too indoctrinated by it, thankfully. But she still believes in Christian values. She sees the benefit of some, aspects of Christianity, raising somebody who's kind, respectful, loving, honest. I mean, but those are characteristics my parents were teaching us even before we were witnesses. They were Baptists. And we'd had that discussion that my parents would have raised us pretty much the same way, regardless of being a witness, because they were very honest, hardworking, down to earth people. So they would have taught us the basic values of being honest, hardworking. My dad was a hard worker, and that's what he always taught me. He said, a fair day's pay for a fair day's work.
Hey, how are you?
Well,
No.
there you go. Well, that makes a lot of sense. You had a good father.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call.
Nicole, do you want to say something? Well, thank you, brother, for chiming in. Go ahead, sister.
Thank you.
Yep. Go ahead, Nicole. You're on with us, Nicole.
Sorry, I lost my thought. Sorry.
All right. Well, get your thought back and come back and see us. So, anyways, I just want to say that different thoughts. We get the annual meeting coming up. We don't know what's going to be said, but in fact, just getting even back to this thought about marrying an unbelieving mate. I believe that could happen. I would go with that more than some of these other things I'm hearing. But again, we don't know for sure what the witnesses will do. But let me just reinforce one thing here. The Watchtower has got to change. They have got to change some of their policies. They've got to change some of their teachings even. The Watchtower is, their shelf life is up. Really. In the store, if you buy something that is out of date, it's no good. And that's exactly what's going on with the Watchtower right now. Their shelf life is up. So if they don't change and change pretty quick, they really have nowhere to go. In fact, if Nicole, when she thinks what she wants to say, she can pop right back in for us. Or does anyone else have any thoughts at all about what you heard so far here on the 6 screens? Just dial that number on the bottom of your screen, and we'll entertain your thoughts. And anyways, let's move on then. Let's take a look.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, Brother Freeman. It is Kim from New Jersey. Did I hear you say they either going to drop the midweek meeting or something like that?
Yeah, but now I did say that I don't know for sure. That's what I hear.
Oh, okay.
So it's a rumor. It's only a rumor. I mean, underline that. But this,
okay.
yeah, I have heard it. I got a bunch of information coming in here in the last week saying that that's what they're hearing. Also about birthdays, but I don't think they're going to drop. I don't think they're going to allow for birthdays. But the meeting, it sounds like.
Oh my God!
Well,
I bet you my life they're gonna allow birthday celebration sooner or later. Believe me.
Well, maybe sooner or later, but I don't know if they're ready for it yet. It's just going to rock the boat of too many loyal witnesses. I can't say.
I bet you that I hope to live to see it. They will allow witnesses to celebrate birthdays someday. Believe me.
Yeah, well,
that's gonna change.
Well, someday
I truly believe it.
Well, someday they're going to have to do it, but I don't know if they're ready for it yet. But I don't know. We'll know. In fact, the annual meeting.
Well, guess what? You better pray it doesn't happen, because if it does, I'm going back.
Yeah. Well, no, you're not. I wouldn't go back for birthdays at all, because I'll tell you. Well, if they start celebrating birthdays, they'll probably pull the same trick they did with your rewards card. Well, if you get a person that gives you money for your birthday, maybe you might want to give it to the organization. I mean, they'll be hounding you for the gift. Well, thank you. Let's go to 717. Right. Thank you, New Jersey. Go ahead, 717. You're on with us.
That point, that's a great point that you're sharing about the celebration, because this year I had my celebration at home, but it not just myself and my mom that I live with, and got a nice cake, candles, ice cream, and some coffee to drink with it. It was great. Had a great time, even though it was pretty much alone. It was a nice Black Forest tort, and it was great. It was.
Well, best birthday you ever had, right?
It was awesome, but I think I've been to attended maybe I've tried something of others, and it's great to have a great time, and of course with that, finding somebody in your life, I've had interest, and I never got it out of my mind, because I knew that one day, I don't have a doubt that I know I can do it, find someone in my life. I know.
Well, Dallas, there's room for hope. I mean, don't you ever give up. who knows? Maybe someone listening to the program tonight might want to write you. I mean, how are they going to get a hold of you? I mean, maybe want to just let it cool down for now, but hey, there's been many marriages made here on the 6 screens. So thank you, Dallas. Thank you for writing in. Thank you for commenting. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And those are good to have.
Oh yeah. Well, just keep looking in the right direction. Things will work out for you, Dallas. It's Dallas, right?
That's what I go by on this show for, to be safe. It's my safety. Your show is my safety right here.
All right. Well, very good, Dallas. We'll keep it safe for you. We don't want you getting hurt. All right. Thank you, Dallas. All right. Let's go to, I think that's my wife, Susan. Susan, what do you have to say?
Well, I've been thinking what the Watchtower might try to do is certain important doctrines let the individual brother or sister let them be responsible. As an example, let's say a blood transfusion. They can say, well, that we'll leave that up to your conscience. We'll give you the information. We'll leave it up to your conscience. Just like a birthday, we'll leave it up to your conscience. And that way it absolves them of all responsibility. And you can pretty much do as you think you need to do.
Well, yeah, leave it up to your conscience. And well, they're heading in that direction, Susan, on a lot of their policies. They're more or less letting the person who was a witness leave it up to their conscience. So you think even when it comes time to pick a maid or to marry outside the truth, you think it should be up to your conscience?
Yes, you could say, well, if they say they're Christian, let it be so. And that way it absolves them of any lawsuits. They can say, well, the person decided on their own to do that. We didn't tell them to do it. They decided on their own. I could save them a bucket load of money.
Yeah, well, Susan, that's good. No, that's good to bring that up because it's something that, I don't really see a big issue with it. I mean, like I said earlier, I wouldn't suggest if I was a governing body member in writing policy for the Watchtower that a person would go out and find a devil worshiper or a demonic person or a bad person. But if a person has a godly way about them, I would say, fine, bring them in, marry them, get them to be a witness. Look, they could really, I wouldn't say double their count, but boy, they could bring a lot of people and recruit them into the cult very easily. Like it did, Susan, with even my first wife, as you know. I mean, she was recruited into the cult. I mean, because she met me, and before you know it, she became one of Jehovah's Witnesses. As a matter of fact, she became a Jehovah's Witness before I did, which was unusual. Well, thank you, Susan, for calling in. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, you're on JW World News. That's the news the Watchtower doesn't want us talking about. All right, so we'll move on. Well, we got a lot to talk about here tonight. It's just unreal. Friends, I want to thank all those people, too, that send me information in every week. My phone beeper goes off all the time, voicemails, the messages on Facebook, bing, 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 a constant news coming in here to the news center. I appreciate all those guys that are doing that. Thank you very much. I got something I want to talk about here, and I mentioned this so many times. One of the biggest things that makes me so happy, I mean, I get really excited. I'm not just blowing wind here, friends. I mean this. I get so excited when I hear countries coming down on the Watchtower. It's one thing to have apostate friends, and we got a lot of them, YouTubers and Facebook people and all of that. But boy, we have got a lot of people right now that are speaking up against the Watchtower, but nothing is more satisfying to me to see countries. Now, Poland is in the news this week, and they're now starting to really understand how dangerous the Watchtower organization is. And I'm going to see if I can find that clip, and then I will. Okay, this is right here. Let me bring this up right now. Just give me a second. let it come up. Poland. Okay, there we are. So there was an article in I believe it was a Polish paper. It doesn't really give the name of the paper, but it's a publication in Poland. But it looks like it could be in a newspaper or maybe a magazine. But Poland now is starting to get very interested in the Jehovah's Witness sect. That's what they're calling it in Europe. We call it a cult here. Let's call it a cult. Let's call a spade a spade. It's a cult. But over there in Europe, they call it a sect. So in Poland, they are now looking at Jehovah's Witnesses. This article in the newspaper, I believe, it's saying Jehovah's Witnesses are a dangerous sect, a cult. And they go on to talk about why control over its members, information control. Well, what's information control? Well, information control is, don't look at certain things. Don't read anything from apostates. Don't look at things that might chastise our religion. They also are looking at emotional manipulation. Well, would you say the Jehovah's Witnesses emotionally manipulate people? I would say so. I don't think that's far-fetched. And then it talks about medical rules. Yeah, it talks about medical rules. It talks about the blood transfusions and what have you. So that's in a major, I say major, maybe it's not totally major, but it did make the internet here, so it must be somewhat major. So Poland now is coming down on the Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, doesn't that really resonate with you? It should. So, because I'm also seeing other countries. We talked about Denmark. They're very unhappy with the way Jehovah's Witnesses are behaving in covering up child abuse. Belgium, we know that they're investigating the witnesses. They have the witnesses under interrogation in that country for child abuse. And how about Norway? Well, according to the Norwegian government, we know the story, but I'll just reiterate it in case someone's just listening in for the first time. The Norwegian government, well, they're talking here about deregistering, and they have deregistered Jehovah's Witnesses in their country. And that cost the witnesses some money. Now, we talked about this before. In Norway and some of the European countries, they're given money for the amount of people they have. Religions are given money as charity. The government gives religions money for the amount of members they have. Now, in Norway, they had, 12,686 registered Jehovah's Witnesses. So that boils down to, let me just give you the money. They make $1.40 per, that's 140. The Watchtower organization, did you know this? In Norway, they make $140 per member. But as of a year ago, the Norwegian government said enough is enough. They're very unhappy with the Jehovah's Witnesses because they shun. It's creating some monumental issues in Norway. So the Watchtower organization, if you take the $140 per member and you multiply that by 12,686, you come up with roughly $1,778,000, almost 200. I'm sorry, that's 1 million, almost 2 million, almost $2 million a year because they shun. Well, they stopped shunning them. That's Norway. So, now we also look at New Zealand. Look at these countries that are coming down on Jehovah's Witnesses. New Zealand right now. Well, they have a commission right now, like the Australia Commission. They're looking into the sexual child abuse. It's abhorrent. It's a difficult thing for the Watchtower to really defend themselves on. This is happening all over the world. We know it's happened already in Australia. And then we look at Japan. Oh boy, Japan is really upset with the Jehovah's Witnesses. And their beef with the Jehovah's Witnesses is two beefs. They didn't talk too much about child abuse, even though child abuse is a big issue there as well. But what the Japanese government is really upset about with the Jehovah's Witnesses is the fact that they refuse blood transfusions. Now, this is an interesting thought here. And they actually did some statistics on this. Evidently, I don't know if the government of Japan did it or where they came up with these statistics, But basically about 1,000 Jehovah's Witnesses die each year abstaining from blood transfusions. Can you imagine that? About 1,000 a year. Now you multiply that by the many years that they have not been able to accept blood. And that goes back to the early 50s. So we're talking 50, we're talking what, 75 years? 75 years? Say 1,000 witnesses a year is probably more back then because there was more witness. Well, those bigger. Well, maybe not. So just say 1,000 times 75. So I'm just going to put a figure here. Maybe we can put a figure on this for the first time now that someone did the stats on this. So if we have 1,000 Jehovah's Witnesses die each year, and that blood transfusion abstaining from it was initiated back in the early 50s, we're talking 75 years. So I think it's fair to go on the record to put a number on this. 75,000 people have died from abstaining from blood. I mean, that's the numbers I'm coming up with here. I mean, I don't know what you guys can do with it, but that seems to be, we could never put a number on it. But someone did the research, I guess, over in Japan, and that's what we're coming up with. And the other thing Japan is upset with, is the flogging. Flogging. Now, we don't use that term flog. If you say you flogged your kids in America, people would say, what are you talking about? But in other countries, they use the term, but it's hitting your kids. It's disciplining your kids. And in Japan, they're saying that this discipline or this flogging is going way too far. Way too far. Many witness kids are being brutally beaten. And the Japanese people do not like it. The government does not like it. So these are countries, friends. We're talking about countries. We're not talking about some lone apostate speaking out in the wilderness. We're talking about countries of major proportion. Let's take a look at Slovakia. Oh, Slovakia. Well, the news comes in from Slovakia that the witnesses, the Slovakian government is upset with the Jehovah's Witnesses because of their isolation and their shunning. Oh, yeah, they don't like this either. See, countries don't like what Jehovah's Witnesses do. We don't like what Jehovah's Witnesses do. Let's take a look at Brazil. I mean, how many countries can we name here? There's more. I can't get into them all. But Brazil, the Brazilian government, and there's been newspaper articles written about it all over Brazil, and it's accusing the Watchtower of inhumane treatment for isolating former believers. See, friends, when we were witnesses, when I was one, and when you were one, we didn't think shunning was that big of a deal, right? We didn't. We just kind of took it with a grain of salt. And you shun, you don't talk to a person. That is inhumane. That is torturous. That creates all kinds of psychological instability in people. There's no question about it. So the Brazilian government, they're upset with the Jehovah's Witnesses. How many more countries are there? There's more. I mean, Russia, we all know about Russia. So some say Russia goes too far. I mean, maybe they do in some instances, but Russia, they look at Jehovah's Witnesses as being an extremist group. They look at Jehovah's Witnesses as being just like extremist terrorists. Now, I'm not going to go that far. Jehovah's Witnesses aren't extremist terrorists, but they are extreme in their belief. They do cause a lot of issues. So all of these things, the witnesses are now facing intense scrutiny worldwide, all over. A lot of it has to do with sexual abuse, as we said. Now, even in this country, they're now experiencing this scrutiny. Where can we start? Let's start with Pennsylvania. Oh, Pennsylvania. A grand jury has charged back in 2000. Well, there's more now, but just when they first started charging back in 2022, they charged 14 men with sexual abuse within the organization. So, put that one in your pipe and smoke it. That's the state of Pennsylvania. So it's just not world countries. Friends, it's happening all over the place, and it's happening right here in the good old USA. Well, you're on with us. Who'd like to speak up? You have anything to say? Go ahead. Did you hear anything here today that touched your nerves? Did you hear anything here today that you agree with or don't agree with? I'd welcome you to speak up and talk. So go ahead, hit *6. Go ahead and hit *6 and see what you think, and then we'll move on to the next question. So *6, friends, I have to tell you, this program is made up of people calling in. And I know a lot of people just like to sit back and get the news and think about it, but we got to get, 6.
Yes, Mr. Farron.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been listening to the program with interest tonight in this topic. The subject matter is really well covered and well thought out and well presented. So I thank you very much for presenting that to us and all that. I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people. I listened with interest the fact that you were removed as a ministerial servant or something there several years ago. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Yeah, 2000.
Yeah. Okay.
2003. Yep.
Yeah. That goes to show you there. I just like to remember what a wise old minister one time said and everything like that regarding elders, deacons, ministers. He says, "The Lord anoints and appoints, ordains and maintains." So in other words, are you a ministerial servant? Are you an elder? Are you a minister? Well, judge for yourself and just read the book according to the Christianity's doctrine and so forth. And you'll find those principles in there according to this one minister. So I'm sorry to hear that experience and all that, but take a look at what Christianity's orthodox belief was, and I think that you'll find some aid and comfort in it.
Well, thank you very much, Ken, for calling in. I always appreciate you calling in. We do like the callers when they call in. It makes a difference. So we'd love to get people calling in. So thank you for doing that. Okay, let's move to the next thought here, Ken. I'm just going to mute you. Okay, let me do that right now. Mute Ken. Well, let's move to the next article here that I've got that we're going to discuss here tonight. It has to do. Ken, could you mute? Hit *6, Ken. Mute yourself. All right, there you go. All right, I can do it here sometimes, Ken, by myself too. So just be aware of it. You're back on with us, Ken. Mute yourself. Okay, just keep it muted. Keep it muted. All right. So let's take a look here. Let's take a look at Bethel. They are now laying more Bethelites off. Did you hear this? Yeah, this is somewhat within the last few weeks here. We're now learning that Bethel, that is the full-time workers at Watchtower, wherever they would be, mostly here in America, they're in Warwick, but they have other Bethelites around the country, around the world. But focusing here on America that I do know, I don't know what's going on in other countries, but I know here in the United States that Bethelites are being laid off. Downsizing is happening at Bethel. And friends, it's for those that are over 50 years old. It's sad when you stop and think about it, because these Bethelites, these were people expected to be lifers. They thought they'd be with Watchtower for the rest of their life, and now we get Bethel laying them off. Now they're gonna have to make their own way in the world at an advanced age, with no education and no desired skill. Well, I worked for the Watchtower. I worked in the laundry room. It's not going to get you a good job. I'm sorry. Well, I worked in the binding room. Well, it's not going to get you a job either. And you're now over 50 years old. How horrible it is that they're letting this happen. And all they're going to say to the Bethelites is, "We thank you for your service, but we don't need you anymore." That's basically what's going to happen. Good to know you, but see you later. That's how cruel the Watchtower is. They are told they need to pack, and then they're also told that a staffer will help them to the door. So, when you have an organization like this, it really doesn't show much love, does it? And we know Marcus Vaughn. Remember him? Well, he's on YouTube. He's a good man. He's been on our program before. And, he was told one day, Marcus, we don't need you anymore. You got to leave today. And he actually had some staffers help him pack, took all of his belongings, put them out on the sidewalk. And, this happened all the same day. And then Marcus, he wanted to get a sandwich before he left. So the bill came to $2.75. He didn't pay it, but they sent him a bill for it for $2.75. You can hear that on Marcus Vaughn's channel. That's unbelievable. Talk about a cheap organization. Here you got a man that gave up his young manhood, so to speak, to work for the Watchtower. So, this is just over the top. I don't believe that they even give these brothers or sisters that are kicked out of Bethel, laid off, but I'm going to say kicked out. I don't think they even give them $1 for a bus ride or a cab ride or a Uber or anything. Really, it's heartbreaking. It really, really is. But a Bethelite shouldn't be disappointed that this is happening. They did sign up. But I want to say this to anyone listening in here tonight. If you sent an application in for Bethel and you weren't appointed, you thank your lucky stars for that. I'll tell you right now, because just think if you went there as a young person. Suppose you went there. How many people did we know that went to Bethel as young people and they spent many years there, and now here they are 50 years old, toodaloo, we don't need you anymore. Now what are you going to do this late in life? Starting over again? How do you do it? I can't describe in words how these people must feel. You got to have some empathy here, folks. You got to put yourself in their shoes. How when you stop and think about it, we have a I'm going to say $1 million, but as of last week, with them now starting an investment firm, we now have $1 billion. We have $1 billion spiritual paradise, the Watchtower. And this is a company, a corporation, if you will, that has less fellow feelings and empathies for their employees than a secular company has. Now, you take some secular companies today, when people are let go, there's usually a severance pay. They thank them for the service. They sometimes even have a banquet to honor the person. There's no such thing at Watchtower. They grow to great lengths to protect every inch of their assets and their income stream. They're not going to disrupt it by allowing a pension or, you've been with us, brother, for so many years, and brother and sister. In fact, I know a couple. I don't know them personally, but I have been introduced to them through the internet. And I'm not going to say, because I don't want to get them in trouble, but they are high, well, I'm not going to say super high officials, but they work at a very instrumental department of the Watchtower. And they're PMOs, but what are they going to do? They're my age. They're 70, 75 years old. What are they going to do? If they say, that's it, Watchtower, we've had enough, there's nowhere to go. They have no family. They have no money. Well, what are they going to do? Really, I really think about this. It really can make you very sad when you stop and think about it. So why is it they're letting the older Bethelites go first? You would think that, well, gee, let's some of these new ones coming in, they're not really, this generation doesn't work as hard. We got older ones that have been here, they're trained. Let's keep them. Let's let some of the younger ones go. Oh, no. Now, my thoughts on this, the prevailing opinion, it's just not me making this, but it's an opinion by most people probably listening to this program. They are perceiving, like I am, that the liability is too much for the older ones. Their health care costs. The older you get, the more trouble you get into, right, with health. So I'm thinking that they're letting the older ones go and they don't have to worry about them coming back. Oh, Watchtower, I need, oh boy, I got ulcers, I got this, I got that. They don't have to listen, I got arthritis. You don't have to listen to any of that. So what I'm thinking here, it's a horror story. It is a horror story. And I don't know if you heard about it or not. We never spoke about it here on the Six Screens, but doing some research today on Bethelites that have been kicked to the curb, I came across this one story. Now, you know, you can do what you want with it, but I believe it. I totally believe it. It's a horror story. It's a horror story. It has to do with a Bethelite who was let go. And he was an older Bethelite. And they kicked him to the curb, so to speak. You got to leave. We don't need you anymore. Sorry. Thank you for your service, but bye now. So he didn't have anywhere to go. He had no relatives. He had no friends. So he just was on a park bench in New York, and he froze to death. Now, I can't substantiate that story totally, but I do have it from pretty reliable sources. So I don't know really how it all happened. All I know is he was kicked out of Bethel, and they managed to keep it all quiet. So it seems like the older Bethelites are being handed their hat. Goodbye, see you later. I can't possibly, and maybe you're with me on this. Maybe you're thinking about this too. You're saying, well, how is it? Can you imagine what it'd be like? Put yourself, what you got to do here, you got to put yourself in their position. I mean, no job, you have no marketable skills, you're being kicked out of Watchtower. What does a person do? What does a person, I don't know what I would do. Geez, if I gave my whole life to Watchtower, and I don't know what I would do. You would be in a real pickle. It's shameless and cruel what the Watchtower is doing. I can't even think of the right words to describe it right now. I can't even think about how these ones must feel. Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, I was just thinking, Rick, it's probably one of the hardest lessons you'll ever learn is to know somebody really don't love you. You know, that they've flattered you, that they've said you're wonderful, you're magnificent, you're a pioneer, wow, you're an elder. And then, you know, when they're done with you, to throw you out the door. I know so many people right now that are looking back going, how could they do that? I would have never thought this would happen to me. It's like all of a sudden, Rick, you feel like you've got loveless parents. You say, holy shit, they never loved me. I was a workhorse. And then the door hits you in the ass so hard and knocks you across the room, and you fall across the street, and you sit there crying with no thinking ability, never had to think in the organization. All you had to do is say, yes, I went out in service today, and they said, good boy. You know, but you never had to think. You never had to figure shit out. All you had to do is clean your windows and go to a Kingdom Hall. Most of them are loaded down with alcohol and other drugs, antidepressants. The people are totally screwed up. If you've been in Watchtower a long time, you cannot be screwed up. You're compartmentalized. You don't know truth from falsehood. You've been told light is light and dark is dark, or vice versa. Light is dark and dark is light. I mean, all those false prophecies, they said the light got brighter. Those people are jacked up mentally. So when they get out of there, they're thrown away. I don't want to be so harsh, but they're throwing away some really damaged people. And those people don't know, like you said, Rick, where to go. And you're floored. You literally are floored. You think, how could they do this? You know, that one guy that wrote Crisis of Conscience, I think he did the same thing. I don't remember the story exact, but I thought he had to get back in painting or something. But Rick, it's the most horrible thing. When I asked him that question that day, did we pass a prophecy? And they looked at me like I was the devil. And it was a sincere question. There wasn't no internet and stuff around at that time when I asked that question. There wasn't no, you know, you'd really have to search to find an apostate, you know, late 70s, early 80s. And so for them to give me this look, just because I said, did we pass the generation prophecy? Is this, you know, what do we go to the assembly for new light? What are they talking about? and I was put on apostate watch. And I tell you, I can't. I'm like you, Rick. I can't figure out the words. I feel like I've been raped. I feel like I was touching my toes, getting screwed. I mean, I really do. I think, holy shit, these guys are heartless. These guys are really heartless. And now we find out they got billions, and they want more. They want your kingdom halls. They want your assembly halls. They're just juggling money. They're trying to find people to handle the money, not the people that they're throwing out on the street. And I feel sorry for them, like you do, Rick, because, you know, even when we were at the assembly last year, the last couple of hours, I saw these guys. I thought it was like me. They were so excited to be a part of the organization. They were so excited to be at Bethel. So excited to, you know, they were just talking about their dorm they stayed in, and their wife was there, and they're grinning from ear to ear. It's like Borgie said one day, they're bouncing all over the place. They're all excited. But we know the outcome. We know the false prophecies to come. We know the end of the road for them. And it's painful. So like you said, Rick, early on, you know, we don't want to hate these guys when they come out. We want to love them. We want to give them a hug. We don't even want to say, I told you so. We just want to give them a hug and come alongside them and say, hey, you know, I've been there, right?
Well, Dan, good comments. Very good comments. Yes.
Thank you, Rick.
Very, very good.
Yeah,
Dan.
so I'm like you know, I don't know what to say. All I know is that, Rick, it's the biggest deception. We've all been through it too. I've been through it. You've been through it. It's the biggest deception. And that biggest deception is that it's a religious organization that really cares about the people and promise us a big family in the new world and the new system. And it was all a lie. And there's a lot of people, Rick, right now online that are senior, and they're destitute, and they have nobody. And they're going online saying, will anybody talk to me? I mean, desperate, Rick, desperate. And there's nothing there for them except us. Anyway, Rick, that's all I wanted to share.
Well, there's a mouthful. Thank you, Dan. It's always good to hear from you. Thank you.
Yes, Rick.
Let's go to
Rick.
King of Dots. Go ahead, King of Dots.
I cannot believe how disappointed I am in Dan. I mean, I'm looking at the audience, the comments, and they're expecting cursing, all sorts of vile words. And actually, he's improved a lot. We're all disappointed. But guess what, Dan? We're gonna try to live with the new Dan. The audience doesn't like it, but you know what? I've noticed it. Not that I cuss a lot, but again, because you stop cussing as much, guess what? I can't cuss as much either. See, you see what you've done here? The cascading of events. I have to stop. I have to do less cussing because you did.
I'll try to incorporate
impact to what you're doing. Okay. Okay.
Okay. All right, King of Dots. I got it. Yes.
Okay, I'm done here, man, with you.
Right.
Sorry, I'm letting everybody down, Rick. I got him.
Well, it's
I don't know what's happening.
It's funny that he did say that, but I've been noticing people were saying that on YouTube here. But no, thank you, Dan. Thank you for a little less cussing. That can be a good thing. That can be a good thing.
Remind me the next time, okay?
Well, anyways, I agree with Dan. Now these Bethelites. Now just stop and think about it. These Bethelites at one time thought that when they would become a Bethelite, they would be taken care of for life. I mean, that's what I would have thought. When I was a young guy, if I had a desire to go to Bethel, I would say to my parents and my friends, I'm going to go to Bethel. I'm going to be taken care of for life. Not so quick. Now, I'm going to tell you, there's many right now who are being released, and they're actually saying the Watchtower is cruel, and they are not hesitating to saying that the Watchtower would actually burn them at the stake if necessary. That's what some of these ex-witnesses, Bethelites, are saying, and they're becoming very bitter and disillusioned. That's the information coming in here to the 6 screens. And this is going to spread. Now, here's what you do. When you're a Jehovah's Witness Bethelite, and you get now in your 50s, and they kick you to the curb, Now they're going to send you back to where you're going to land, and that would be most likely where you came from, at your congregation. And they're hoping that someone in the congregation will be able to help you out a little bit. Now, imagine a Bethelite wife who gave up her chance of having children and spending all of these years at Bethel and having to live childless in some Bethelite family, and now she's being kicked to the curb. She's going to have to, live in some rented dump somewhere, and she'll be. She's going to. I'm sure she's going to let others know how she feels, and that's for sure. Really, this is going to spread like wildfire. The organization has disappointed a lot of people, but then I stop and think: is it really the organization's fault? In other words, like, the other side of the story here. Now, we know that no promises have ever been made to a Bethelite, have they? No one ever said that, you're going to be taken care of for the rest of your life. Many Bethelites just assumed it. And they just didn't, now they are expecting something that they were hoping for that never would happen. Well, welcome to the real world. That's what happens in the real world. And now we have a lot of these people that are trying to make a new life. That is, these Bethelites been kicked to the curb. They're trying to make a new life at the end of their life. Now, think about that. Can you imagine now? I'm 76 years old myself. And some of you guys listen to the program, you're probably as old as me, some probably even older. But I'm just thinking, would you want to go out and start making a new life at 76, 80 years old, 85 years old? I mean, how are you going to do it? I mean, now, you're being kicked to the curb. It's sad. But tragically, to think of how a man would feel. So suppose you had a man, and he had a wife, and they were at Bethel for many, many years. And now all of a sudden, the Watchtower kicks them out. Now, you talk about emasculating, taking a manly feel away from him, and you can't even support your wife. You're going to be living on table scraps that the local Jehovah's Witnesses might throw at you. I mean, you imagine that. I mean, it almost makes you cry to think about it. It would make the man not feel like a man anymore. He would not be able to be the person he wants to be. He put all these hours in, all his time in, all of his effort in, and given his work to the Watchtower. Now, all of a sudden, at 50 years old, him and his wife are left basically homeless. Let's go to 540. You're on with us.
It just makes me so sad to hear that another group is being kicked out and sent back to wherever their home congregation was. What if they came there when they were in their 20s and they're, let's say, 60 now? There's not going to be anybody in that home congregation that even, has a tie to them.
Well, Pixie, the thing is here, they're hoping, what the Watchtower is hoping is that when they let them go, that the local congregations will find some accommodations for them. That's what they're hoping. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but like there wouldn't be anybody that have to start over in a congregation. Like it's not really like going back to your hometown and knowing someone there. So they just have to trust that witness, we're family thing again, and they don't know who they might be renting from or anything. I mean, it's really terrible. And if they signed that vow of poverty when they were young at Bethel, that's set up like a monastery. Like, let's say it was a Jesuit order or something, and a young man is there at, let's say, 25. When he's an old man, and let's say he's 80 or 90 years old, he knows he's got a room where he can get a meal and he's got a place to live and die. And I just feel like these people have been betrayed yet again. It just makes me so sad.
Well, Pixie, I have to tell you, there's so many people. They're so happy that you're coming on here again. We haven't heard from you for a while, so thank you. Welcome.
I couldn't get on for 3 weeks.
What happened?
I don't know, but I'm glad to be back.
Well, thank you very much, Pixie. Thank you for coming on with us. People missed you. We all missed you. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
see you again.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Well, she hit on something there that made some sense. I'm just thinking, see, the governing body is kicking these people out and let them go, and they're just in a position where there's nothing for them. Now, but I'm thinking they took care of one of their own, Tony Morris. They took care of him. They when he left, I mean, whether he left on his own or whether they kicked him out, I'm not sure what happened. Nobody knows. But he was sent to a luxurious new home in North Carolina, adequate space, garage. So, and then Pixie brought up something that got me thinking too. I can't think of any legal grounds for a terminated Bethelite to sue the Watchtower. I hate to say that. If you're listening in, I'm going to tell you, I don't know if there's any legal grounds for a terminated Bethelite to sue. As Pixie brought up, Bethelites sign a vow of poverty. They are completely aware of all their work done at Watchtower. It's done voluntarily. Anyone who wants to leave may do so after the first year. So the Watchtower Corporation has covered their legal behind, so to speak. So before a Bethelite spends his first night there, he's really got to think about this, really got to think about what he's doing. And the Watchtower is in control here. So it's very, very, very difficult for one leaving. Okay, let's go to 978. I think that's Dick Boogie.
Yeah, good evening, Rick, and everybody else. Anthony Morris was removed. I think that's the new buzzword for this fellowship. So, unlike Ray France, I should say, he gets a nice house in North Carolina. And my guess is not that they're being very generous to him, because I think the home in North Carolina is still deeded to the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. They're giving him that and saying, shut your mouth, because if you open up your mouth and you let people know where the bodies are buried, that you would lose your house. So it's, in my opinion, that's just coercion. These Bethelites, they go there in the early 70s. Let's see, I'm having an echo here. Oh my goodness. In the early 70s, and they're thinking, well, I'm going to be in full-time service, so when Armageddon comes, I'll be the first one in the new system, or, that gives me, punches my ticket to the new system, which that's what they believe. And they were conned. And I'm watching all these videos on YouTube, and they're always saying, the governing body loves you. They don't. They love your money. They love your free labor, and that's it. And they want to keep you ignorant. They don't want you to go to college. The reason for that is they want to have people worship them, the governing body. If you saw the Gilead graduation, and they're always, the governing body, the governing body, the governing body. They're crooks, they're thieves. I was just thinking, the governing body all have taken of our poverty, and with that power of poverty, Jeffrey Jackson goes out and buys a Bentley, a brand new Bentley. They started at $250,000, and they go up to $500,000 for that car. And he turns around and he buys an 800 horsepower Dodge. I think it was a Demon or a Hellcat. Quite spiritual names. But that's how hypocritical these people are. They are not good people. They've been living on the donations of rank and file Jehovah's Witnesses, and they're living in a luxurious lifestyle. They don't want any people to know it. They try to hide it, but it's kind of hard to hide that you're living like a millionaire, because they are. I mean, we know about
nor giving Cadillacs away to governing body members. I mean, that's on YouTube all the time. These guys are just, obviously they're from Satan the devil. They're from Satan the devil. And they don't have any consideration for anybody. It's just, give us your money. They're going to be pleading, give us your money. It wasn't bad when I first started listening in the 70s, when I became a Jehovah's Witness in the very early 70s. Now it's all, give us your money, give us your money. They don't say anything about, they're building a media center, $150 million. We need your money, we need your money. Well, they sold property off in Brooklyn for $2.5 million. Why don't you use that money? Oh no, we wouldn't do that. We want to keep our lifestyle. Anyway, that's all I have on that subject, Rick. Thank you.
Well, Dick, thank you. And even when we discussed last week about this asset management firm that they're setting up in Ireland, even in the financial newspaper I read last week on this program, the Watchtower is worth in assets, now not cash, but in assets, $10 billion, billion, $billion. And yet you have people being kicked to the curb. You would think, in other words, even if the Watchtower didn't want to pay them a pension, you would think out of the goodness of Christianity, which they say they are, that they would at least say, look, we got to give some stipend amount here so these people get on their feet. They don't even do that. They don't even pay for the bus ride home. It's unbelievable. Thank you, Dick, for calling in. Dan, did you want to say something? Go ahead.
Mr. Farron?
Go ahead. Yes, I think that's Stephen. Go ahead, Stephen.
Yeah, I just wanted to relate a quick story. I have a friend now for about the last 20 years. Turns out he is a Lutheran minister. And he reached retirement age just a couple of years ago. And he called me one day and he said, you will never guess what. And I said, what's that? He said, I entered seminary, however many, 30 years ago, 40 years. He goes, and I entered just to serve. I just wanted to help people. I said, yeah. He said, unbeknownst to me, he said, the Catholic Church or the Lutheran Church invested, money and set aside money for me so that when I retired, I would have something. He said, I never knew anything about it. He said, there's a lady that hunted me down, found him through a family member. He said, we have been trying to get in contact with you because we have money for you now that you've retired. They handed him a check, I think, off the bat for like $40,000. And then every month he gets X number amount of money from the Lutheran Church. The point that I'm making is Watchtower has said all along that they're the only organization that God is using. They're the only organization that shows the love that Jesus Christ said would be true of the one true organization. And here you are saying how Watchtower is just literally kicking people out after decades of faithful service, kicking them out to the wolves, could care less how they survive. Here you have people, quote unquote, in Satan's world, in Babylon the Great, and yet they take care of their own. What hypocrisy from this organization. This organization is Satan's organization.
Well said, Stephen. In fact, I'll tell you what. In fact, I have a good friend, too, that in his church now, his wife got very sick and needed some medical attention. And it was going to cost $2,000 to see this one particular specialist. And, he was kind of scraping the change up and doing what he could. And what happened is the church found out about it. They gave him the $2,000 to go get his wife's health straightened away. Now, would that ever happen in the Watchtower? Absolutely not. In fact, the congregation that I came from, right here in Wilmington, Massachusetts, I can remember there was a young couple, a fine, handsome young couple, and they wanted to be a missionary, and they went over to India, and they were missionaries in India. And then the woman, the sister, young girl, beautiful girl, she landed up with sinus difficulty. She landed up with sinus problems, and she couldn't really go on the ministry like the Watchtower wanted her to do. So she needed an operation. The operation was going to be $6,000, and it was going to have to be done here in the United States. So they pleaded to the Watchtower and says, look, we really need help for my wife. They said, well, we'll get her help. We'll loan you the money. We'll get her back here. We'll get her back to America. We'll have her have the operation, but you have to pay us back. Can you imagine that? Jeez, I'll tell you, unbelievable.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I certainly can. Before Mark Palo died, he told a story to all of us that he had an aunt that went to Gilead at age 18, graduated, and she was sent to Argentina. And she served there till she died of natural causes somewhere. I don't know the exact age, but I'm going to speculate. She was about 70 years old, and she died. And Mark's relatives were all living in Brooklyn because Mark's father was the Swedish interpreter for the Watchtower and served in the same jail cell with Rutherford. So it was a connected family. It took them months before the Watchtower even let the family know that she had died. So the family said, well, please send the body. Oh, no, we can't do that. You're going to have to hook up with the local officials and send her body home. And you pay for it. And that woman probably gave 50 years of her life to the Watchtower, and they wouldn't even send her body home or give her a decent burial. That is how sick this organization is, how greedy they are. It's just like a drug pusher, and you've got someone buying drugs from you. They don't care if you live or die. They just want the money. They want you to pay for the money. And the Watchtower is the same way. They don't care about anybody but themselves. And they're living like they are millionaires. All those governing body, those 8 or 9 of them, they're just professional swindlers. And that's why they're going to lie to you, and they're going to lie to you, and they're going to lie to you. And thank God for Six Screens and YouTube and all those former brothers that are on the TV. I've been watching them. It's fascinating, all the different YouTube channels. You just had Dan Clark on there. He's always been great. He does some really wonderful videos. There's just so much good stuff on the screen. Anyway, Rick, I just wanted to tell that story again about Mark Palo's art. Thank you, Rick.
Well, Dick, it's a true story. And thank you for recognizing the work that Dan does and Angela, that they do great work. All of the people, everyone, look at, I have to tell you, everyone that comes out with videos, it's so important. You're making a big difference. It's really, really, really exposing the Watchtower for who they are. So keep up the good work. And at our convention, we got the convention coming up in 2025, the Still Alive convention. We're going to be giving awards. Some of these people need awards. They have to be recognized for the work they are doing, exposing the Watchtower. All right. So let's see what else we got. Let's go to Dan. Did you want to speak up?
Yeah, I just want to say, well, thank you for you guys' nice comments and thoughts, and thank the guys on YouTube too. But I just wanted to say this, Rick. Is governing body giving a kind of letter of recommendation, at least for the people? Because if somebody was in a sense kicked out of Bethel, there'd be shunning. The people in the congregation would say there's something wrong. Has there been some big notification that we're cutting off this flag of Bethel, but we want you to know these brothers are good brothers. They're in great standing and they're wonderful. Do they even get that?
Now, I'm not, it goes back many years. I've been doing this program for 20 years, but this subject has been brought up before. I cannot remember, but let me just, I'm going on gut feel here. I can't remember exactly, but what I do believe don't take it to the bank and cash it, but what I can remember, because this was years ago, that when Bethelites leave and they want a letter of recommendation, from what I do believe, and callers calling in before, it was said that the Watchtower doesn't do that.
Oh,
Now,
you'd think it's the least they could do, and just say they did. I mean, that would still be a bunch of shit. You know what I'm saying? Because you're pushing them off. You're pushing them off on somebody else. Oh, hey, these brothers were wonderful. We just want you to know, we've shut down our wake department or whatever, magazines. But you would think they would do that just on the sense of pushing them off. But if you just send them off, that these brothers just sort of fell out of Bethel, you'd have a lot of judgment. They wouldn't fit into any hall. And like Pixie said, the halls have changed. If you've been, Rick, half of them will be shut down. I don't even know if they'd know where to go. I mean, if you send them back to their hall, they might say, where's the hall? It's a flower shop or it's a marijuana clinic. I don't know that they would know where to go. And the people that I meet now at the coffee shops and different places, these are young people. They come in after 2000. They'd come in 2018, 2017, and they act like they're lifers. I say, you guys don't know nothing. You don't know anything. You know what I'm saying? So it's like Pixie said, I don't think they would even know anybody. I know if I went back to Houston, those halls would all be shut down and closed and moved out of those areas, bulldozed over. What a tragedy. Like you guys said, Rick, what a tragedy for those brothers. And like you said, Rick, as we get older, we don't have the enthusiasm, mojo, whatever you want to call it, to reinvent ourselves. We kind of feel like life has passed us by. Then you got depression of, this didn't happen and they let me go, and you got some sort of realization coming in. It took me 10 years, Rick, before my mind started to think after I got out of there. My lady mentor says, you can't put sentences together, and I couldn't. I would talk to people and Angela would have to finish my thought. And it was because of alcoholism when I was in there. I was a heavy, heavy, heavy drinker. And so I had a lot of alcoholism. I haven't drank in 20 some years, but I couldn't put sentences together. I couldn't think. My imagination didn't work. I had no thought for the future. So Rick, how do you do that at 50? How do you get your imagination going? How do you get hope going again? How do you get over the fact that you've been told to leave a job with no severance pay? Like you said, nothing to get you back on your feet. Even a worldly company, so to speak, will say, hey, here's 5,000-10,000, man, good luck to you. My God. And they're rolling in dough, man. Rolling in dough, billions. And not even a little severance pay for them closest to them. Bethelites. Tragedy, Rick. Just what you said, tragedy.
Well, Dan, I tell you, when I was going over this information, it came very close to bringing tears to my eyes.
Yeah.
Well, what I tried to do is put myself in a Bethelite brother's position. Now, if you had a wife and you both went to, Bethel, and you worked there for 30, 40 years, I know a couple there that's there still. Like, I can't develop too much on that. But what do you really do? What does the man feel like? Dan, I know that you're a hard-working man, and I know Angela works hard with you too. But you really want to take care of your wife. That is something that's very much indigenous to you. It's something that you want to do and be able to make a secure home for her. So that's in all of mankind. That's in all of masculinity.
Men want to provide for their wife.
Yeah.
They don't have a way to provide. They're like, they don't feel good. They feel like a failure.
Well, you just feel, you just put yourself in a man's position. All of a sudden, him and his wife are called up to the Bethelite office, the Watchtower office, and, we don't need you anymore. We're going to send you back to the local congregation. I mean, that has got to be, we've all experienced difficulties in life. We've all experienced downturns. But that would be enough to put a person into a coma. Serious. I'm not laughing.
Yeah.
It would be. It's so cruel.
Do you know, Rick? I saw my uncles. They had daughters and stuff go to Bethel, and I hadn't seen them since they were knee high. And I saw them at my brother's funeral, and it was disgusting. Every one of them were old. Even my nieces and relatives were gray white hair. I'm like, who the hell are these people? And my uncle that did bricks and stuff, I asked the dumbest damn question you could ask him. I said, hey Neil, are you still doing the bricks? He goes, hell, I haven't put a brick in 15 years. I mean, you talk about losing track of time. And he looked senior. His jaws were sucked in. And I was looking at, I don't know, Rick, I don't want to say it this way. I was looking at corpses. I was looking at my brother, Doug. He looked mongoloid. My uncle, Neil, looked totally screwed up. My uncle Neil, all of them. And they were all kind of culty, all kind of giggling. You know, we got the apostate here, be careful. You know what I mean? And then my uncle asked a fatal question, right? Did you ever come back to the truth? And that's when the party started. You know what I mean? That's when everything started. I said, absolutely not, you know, and I asked them why they were still in and how they've endured false prophecy after false prophecy after false prophecy. And my brother said, well, we could stop here. But Rick, it was weird. It was a weird realization, not seeing people for 40 years and seeing them in their senior year and saying, man, that's my uncle. That's their daughters. I've never met their kids. It was disgusting. And now Watchtower's going to throw their asses away. Holy crap, Rick. Oh, my God. It don't get any worse.
Well, Dan, I mean, I know you're a businessman and you work hard and your wife works along with you and you both work very hard to provide a decent life and be able to enjoy life. Now, if you had a worker with you for, say, 20, 30, 40 years, and the time came that, you know, I don't really need the worker anymore, I can't imagine Dan Clark would just say, okay, nice, John, nice working with you. See you later, pal. I can just see that even, no, you say, look, and I'm going to help you a little bit here. Geez, John, you work so hard for us. We're going to help you. That's what any normal business would do.
We couldn't pay them enough, Rick. Yeah. We couldn't pay. We had people working for us. We couldn't pay them enough. I mean, every time I got a bonus, they got a bonus. Even when my daughter, a customer gave me $500 extra, I'd give it to my daughter, or $1,500. We bought their gas. We paid for their meals. We made sure they felt really good. We never rub them the wrong way. We knew, you know, that we were part of an extension of them taking care of them. And you're right. You can't do it. You don't have the heart. And if you do get kind of slow or whatever, you say, hey, you know, I'm slowing down a little bit. You might want to look around a little bit or maybe do something else or whatever, but you damn sure make sure they're taken care of. And the minute you've got a job, you call them and say, hey, why don't you just do this job yourself? You know, it'll pay you $6,000, $7,000 and you go ahead and do it. I mean, you're just like that because you've moved into the heart. And that's a big thing. I think that's really what it means to be born again, is to move out of your head into your heart.
Hey, Dan and Rick.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's worse than being released from prison. At least prison, you know, they try to find you a job, and they you know, from what I know, and they try to help you out to keep you on the straight path.
Even
when you're kicked out of Bethel, you're on your own, man. That's what I've seen and I've heard.
Yep.
Thank you.
Oh, Jeffrey, I mean, you're right. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And, you know, on the same subject there, when you have someone that, you know, gives their life's energy, gives all of their time and energy to help you, which Bethelites have done. They work in the laundry room. They work in the binding room. They work hard and tirelessly. And any company that would recognize that would say, look, we're going to help you a little bit here. And then they would, even if the company wasn't making tons of money, they would do something to at least help the people.
Yes.
And the Watchtower's got tens of billions of dollars, and they do nothing, Jeffrey. They do nothing.
The word that he said, Rick, was prison. We need to focus on that. Can you imagine a religion that makes you feel like you're in prison, even though Jesus said it's clear as day? What did he say? It's clear as day. No, you are not just my disciples. You will have. You will be. I can't even remember it. You know what I'm saying, Rick?
I know what you're saying. He's saying, if you've done it to the least of me, you've done it to me. So if you shit on them, you've shit on me.
I cannot believe I'm having a brain fart. But he said, you will not toil, you will not be brutalized or something like that. You will follow me and be lighthearted, all this stuff. That he said, that was a scripture they used on me when I came into Watchtower. And it was like, hey, this is going to be an easygoing organization, not laying the law down on you like the Catholic Church did to me. Everything was laid the law down on you. But at least you only had to talk to one person behind a screen. You didn't have to talk to three idiots in a back room. So from that point of view, I felt blessed. But what I'm saying is the word prison. Why do I keep hearing it coming up in the context of Watchtower? That people feel like they're in a prison. I mean, just from that point of view, there's something seriously wrong. That's my point. Thank you so much, Dan, for cussing for once, saying the S word. You know, I appreciate that. It empowered me. It empowered me, man. Thank you.
You know, they don't even have the heart of a prison. Think about that. What Jeff just said. They don't even have the heart of a prison. A prison, they even have housing. We know lots of people that come out of prison and they go stay in this house a little while. They arrange, they give you some money for a hotel for a night or so or a week, or, you know, just think about that. Watchtower doesn't even treat, I didn't think about that till just now. Doesn't even treat you as good as coming out of a prison. Jeez.
Hey, Dan, when you're in prison, after you get released, I know, I've never been there now, folks. But I know people that have. They help you get on your feet. They help you get a job.
Good point.
Watchtower just throws these people out in the street.
It's a great point.
Really, Rick? Yeah. To King Dot's point, if you get released from prison, they'll put you in a halfway house where you'll be with other former convicts. And they'll try to get you a job. And before you're released from prison itself, you know, you can get a GED, you can get a college education in there, you can get training as a plumber or electrician. They will train you in prison. There's a lot of courses you can take in prison. But the Watchtower, when they throw you out, they won't even give you a letter of reference. And as was alluded to earlier in the program, if you go back to your former congregation, if you can find the former congregation, if you can find your former Kingdom Hall, if you can find your former elders, and you say, well, no, I was just thrown out of Bethel. Well, you must have been doing something wrong. We don't want anything to do with you. I mean, it's a cruel world out there for these Bethelites who were thrown out and booted out, and because they've only got 30, 40 years of service in there, they've got nothing. They didn't pay into Social Security, so they can't get that. They won't even give them a severance pay. Maybe they might pay for the bus ticket back home, but probably not. These people are so greedy, and as alluded to during the program, they made billions of dollars on real estate sales. They get billions of dollars tied up in stocks and bonds and all kind of investments, billions of dollars. They're not sharing it because it's just you know, Jesus fed the multitude because he loved the people. The Watchtower doesn't do that. They are so damn greedy. Thank you, Rick.
Well, good man, Dick. Let's go to 602. 602, you're waiting on there. Go ahead, 602. You're on with us. 602, you're on with us. Go ahead. Well, I guess not. Okay, so I'll tell you what. I mean, really, what Dick just said, they're so greedy. It's absolutely mind-boggling. how a company, I'm going to call it a company, but really how a Christian, supposedly Christian religion, can treat people that leave. Well, friends, I mean, that might be it for that part of the news. Bethelites being laid off. Watchtower has nothing there for them. 602, you want to speak up? Go ahead. You're on with us.
Yeah, hey, sorry, Rick. I'm here checking out at the store. But, hey, listen, I just wanted to say, I don't know if you've ever heard about Elon Musk when he sold his business, PayPal, and he basically made everybody, even the janitor, a millionaire in South Africa. Are you familiar with that story, or?
Yes, I am. Yep.
Okay, yeah. So the point is that, remember when Jesus says, if your righteousness is not greater than that of the scribes, there's no, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. So when you think about it, here you have a worldly man whose righteousness is way greater than that of the Watchtower, where when he sold his business, he made sure everybody was taken care of, and then he went. Mm-hmm. So the other thing I wanted to just be a little bit different with everybody is that when these Bethelites, I hate to be mean, but when they got fired, see, they entered into a spiritual world. And what did they expect? When I learned the truth about the truth, I immediately, when I learned, I knew, oh my God, I was John the Baptist. If it happened to him, what makes me think that it wouldn't happen to me? If they put Jesus and killed him on a cross, what makes me think that they wouldn't do the same thing to me? So I'm not trying to minimize the pain that these men are going through. But one thing that these men have to understand, because they've entered into the spiritual realm, Jesus Christ talked about this on the Sermon on the Mount. You were fed every day while you were in Bethel. You never had a day when you didn't have food. And now that you're out all by yourself, guess what? You're still eating. There's no reports of these people being homeless. They're working and they're still eating. The point I'm trying to make is that there's a difference between the fleshly world and the spiritual world. The people that got fired at Bethel should be having a party, should be celebrating, because they had the same destiny that John the Baptist had. Now, a lot of people that are listening, Rick, will not understand a word that I'm saying because they think in the terms of the flesh. But when a man thinks in the terms of the spirit, and he has no social security, he has no children, he has nothing, he has no retirement, he doesn't have a business, but guess what he has? He knows that he fought the good fight. He knows that his destiny was the same destiny of the great men and women of the past that Hebrews 11 talks about. That they are now in the ranks of the great men who were done wrong by religion, who were done wrong by the Pharisees and the scribes. And so they should rejoice. When Jesus says you see these things happening, rejoice. And that's what my message isn't that of doom and gloom. My message is, yeah, you learned. It took you 40 years to learn. It took you 50 years to learn. But your name is in the annals of history amongst the greats, among the greatest of men. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, yes, I agree with what everybody's saying, because that's a fleshly point of view. And we are men of the flesh. But a man of the spirit aspires to something higher. And I consider it an honor and a privilege to have been done wrong by the Watchtower and to come out as GG for GB. I consider it a great honor and a great privilege. I mean, am I wrong in my thinking?
I would say you're wrong, GG. I would say that, you've got some solid points to be made here. I think that, being the spiritual leaders, as they suggest themselves to be, that they could at least adjust your thinking to be more godly,
But John the Baptist thought the same thing when he served at the temple. He thought that they were godly men, and yet they chopped his head off. They severed his head from his body. So you mean to tell me that these Bethelites, they are not suffering anything like John the Baptist, but they have been killed. They've been killed in the flesh. But what these Bethelites don't understand is that in the afterlife, that these people are saying, hey, I was done wrong by the Pharisees. They did me in. I mean, it's. I consider it a badge of honor. You yourself say, Rick Barron always says that he's happy that Satan kicked him out of his organization.
You know what's
Don't you
interesting,
understand?
Gigi? You know what's interesting?
Yes.
What's interesting is it's easier to have your head chopped off than to try to live after Watchtower, because you somewhat have to live through hell. When you get your head chopped off, it's over in a second. You know what I'm saying? And Jesus did not go to the Pharisees and praise them. He didn't go to the Pharisees and say, good job. You're doing wonderful work by screwing everybody in the ass. He didn't say that. He called them what they were: whitewashed graves, offspring of vipers, dead man's bones. You know what I mean? He called them.
No,
like
I do. But Dan, you're dismissing the 11 apostles who had to live years and decades after Jesus died, and they were ostracized too by their family members. What I'm trying to say is that the life of the 11 apostles was not all roses. They suffered too.
Right.
So what I'm saying is that when you think in terms of a fleshly person,
but you
don't
wouldn't want to
understand
go
that
up to
these
somebody, Gigi. You wouldn't want to go up to somebody and say, rejoice. You wouldn't want to go to the brother that just got screwed and kicked out. You wouldn't want to look them in the eye with a big grin on your face and say, rejoice, brother. Rejoice in your suffering. I know Paul said that stuff.
They entered into the spiritual arena. This is why I prefaced it with Elon Musk and what Elon Musk did. He did that in the earthly arena. Here you have a bunch of men and women who entered into a religious arena.
Jesus entered into the spiritual dimension.
No, you don't understand.
But he could call a person what they were. He didn't have to be, but hold on. We don't have to be totally bent over and grinning while somebody's doing us. We don't. We don't have to say that felt good and that was wonderful. We can say we're glad we're out, but we don't have to rejoice over it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but you're dwelling in misery. What I'm saying is, why don't you dwell on the fact? Yes, you are, because all of the comments.
We're calling a spade a spade. We're calling a spade a spade. And
you're
talking against Scripture right now. Jesus called a spade a spade.
Yes,
and here's the thing. To be enlightened don't mean you have to grin. Here's the thing, Gigi. You don't have to, it doesn't make you enlightened to walk around with a grin on your face and say, I've survived and it's wonderful. It doesn't make that. You can speak truth. Martin Luther King spoke truth.
Go ahead and interrupt me. Go ahead. Go ahead, man. Go ahead, Dan. Interrupt me. Jesus specifically talked about this in Matthew 6. He said, don't worry. Well, I got fired from Bethel. Don't worry. Jesus kept on the positive. Jesus knew he was going to be crucified, but yet he always maintained a positive attitude. And I sense a lot of negative energy. And what I'm saying is that there's more positiveness because you have won the world. What I'm telling a Jehovah's Witness that got fired from the Watchtower is that you don't know that you have a prize before you. And if you embrace that prize, then everything will be, like the Apostle Paul said, a bunch of garbage. Because you have won the prize. You see, but a person who's dwelt on negative, a person who's dealing on the negative, never is able to grasp the prize.
I've got a comment about all of this.
That's all I got.
Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I would think this is a comment I make on this, on what they're saying. What has happened is that the witnesses have lost their identity of who they are in Christ. They took on identity of who they are in the organization. And when they lose that identity of who they are in Christ, then they start to think of the earthly things, which Jesse's talking about. But if they kept their identity of who they are in Jesus, if they knew Jesus personally and had a personal relationship with him and understood that relationship, it wouldn't matter what happened. I know I have personally accepted the love and grace of Jesus Christ. My life is in his hands. Whatever happens, happens. I'm willing to accept it. I know there's another life after this. And so, but if I was in the earthly part, if I have the earthly identity and my identity was wrapped up in the Watchtower, my identity was wrapped up in this earth, then I would think like Dan. It would bug me. So that's my comment.
Well, thank you, Mark.
And I would say, where was Jesus' identity? Let's look at Jesus. You would say his identity was earthly. He was in their face. He took
Jesus
a
was
whip.
God.
He took his whip. So listen to me. He took a whip. He made a whip twice, and he threw him out of the temple because he knew the amount of money that was being turned in the temple. They were selling birds and saying, "Hey, if you give us a bird, we'll give you life everlasting." He spoke to that. He spoke to that. That's where passion comes from. And we're told to expose falsehood. And sometimes it's passionate. And sometimes you feel it. And that is being human. I don't have to pretend I'm not human or pretend I'm enlightened or pretend I'm in Christ and it's all love. Love is many things. And I've heard it in the New Age. Love is this and love is that. And love is rollover. It's not true. Love is called being whole. Hold on. Love is called being whole. Let me say this.
I'm not arguing
if you saw a woman getting raped, what would you do? Would you say, I'm no part of the world, love, love, love? Or would you go over and grab the guy and pull him off and say, get off of here? What would you do? You wouldn't say, I'm no part of the world. You would engage. And that's what we do here. We engage we validate and we come alongside. And that's not saying someone's not a Christian because they operate like that.
Okay, can I say something to you?
Go ahead.
That's insulting to me to ask that question of me. Okay. Now, the next thing I would like to ask you, Dan, have you accepted the Lord Jesus Christ as your personal Savior?
Yes.
Okay. You're in the kingdom. All this other stuff is bull, Dan. Get the hate out of your heart.
But that's our work. See, that can be our work too. That we don't say we throw away that. We just can't throw away. We can go back. I had a mother looking at me, dying. Jehovah's going to kill me. My dad, my brothers. That's the reason I went back. It's like Rick said. What good is it? It's not Rick, but someone else said it's a saying. What good is it if a good man turns away and goes back and does nothing, or can't go back? I mean, when you come along alongside of these witnesses, many of them are bleeding. Many of them are torn to shreds. And you can be passionate. And you can say, those darn guys, wow, they pissed me off. And that doesn't make you not a Christian. If you think of the words Jesus used, I would think the words he would use were the F words. When he said, you whitewashed graves, you dead man's bones. You can't call anybody worse than that. When you say your father's the devil, that's powerful. And they said that to each other in there. Get behind me, Satan. So I just don't like the judgment to those who have passion, to those who come on here and express their heart. It takes your heart to come on here. You know what I mean? Not thinking I got to be a Christian. I got to put every word together just right. It's
no, you don't have to. You don't have to, Dan. You don't have to put every word together. But I'm of the belief because you're the one that mentioned Martin Luther King. He says that a man cannot ride your back if it's bent. I refuse to engage in conversation with my back bent and say that I was raped. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to always stand erect. When Jesus was in John 8, when he was with the woman who says, he that without sin casts the first stone, she was on the ground, scared, ready to die. But at the end of the conversation, she was standing on 2 feet with a straight back. What I'm trying to tell you is the difference is that I hear this a lot on the JW channels. It's poor me, poor me, poor me. And I think it's great. I love it because I felt that way. I love feeling drunk in my own misery. But there comes a time where a man has
to say, and I'm successful. And
no.
I'm successful at the same time.
What I'm saying, there comes a time when you have to sit. There comes a time when you have to say, "I'm going to stand up. I'm not going to say I'm raped. I'm erect, and no one's going to ride my back." And you empower individual. And when a Bethelite,
that's a good point.
When a Bethelite leaves Bethel, you tell them that he won the golden prize. You were fired from Bethel.
No, you won the golden prize. It's horrible being screwed over and being screwed. No. You know what? You can get out of your feet
I focus on the positive. I focus on the positive.
Don't be a victim.
I just focus on the positive. Yeah, I focus on
Yeah,
the
right.
positive.
Don't be a victim, right? But
Yes.
you can come alongside somebody, guys, and that's a big difference. It's not just being victim. A victim is when you continue to tell the story and you're not getting any better. I think a lot of people on the 6 screens are getting a lot of better by hearing validations. And I agree with you, though. I want to say this, Gigi. I agree with you. I want to say this. I do agree with you that there's a lot of victims, a shitload. And I agree there needs to be 100% more, hey, here's what to do afterward, than just wallowing around in this thing. Because if you just wallow around, you're never going to get better. In fact, my mentor told me this. I told her my story, and she said, I heard you, I understand you, and I really do, she said, but here's the thing that changed me. It's just what you said. She said, do you want to get better? And she said, let's tone down the story. Because I was where I couldn't wait to tell my story. When I was going into all these different churches, I was like, man, I can't wait to tell my Jehovah's Witness story. I have a big story now of transformation. I have a huge story. And you probably noticed on my YouTube channel, I'm talking about that more. I'm talking more about that story. But I get what you're saying, Gigi. I get what you're saying. You know, you're right. There's a lot of that, and you don't want to go there. And we all need to be reminded. But the truth is, too, there's a time for everything. There's a time to validate. There's a time to come alongside, and there's also a time to say, hey, we got to move on. Anyway, that's it, guys. Thank you.
Yes, and I'll just end it. This is why God put men in the leadership position in the priesthood, because women love masculine men. Women enjoy it. They actually get sexually aroused when a man is loaded with bear of testosterone. And what is that bear of testosterone? Like what we're doing, we're fighting Watchtower. We're saying, hey, we're not going to let you get away with this. We're not going to let you hurt our women, our children, our elderly. So this is the type of talk that is needed. A masculine, strong voice saying, stop your crying and show everybody that you won. You won in this fight. You are the victor. They have all the money. And like Jesus says, this is the best it's ever going to be for them. It's never going to get any better for Watchtower. They have paradise on earth here. But you the one that were fired, you the one that was disfellowshipped, you're the one that came out with the prize. Kind of like that song, remember the Watchtower song, The Prize? But that's all, guys. And Dan, I wasn't fighting with you. We know we love you.
Well, listen, we got a few more callers, and we're going to move on. But
okay,
one minute to we'll give 1 minute to Dick Borgie. Go ahead, 1 minute, Dick. Go ahead.
It's me, Rich. It's me, Rick. Anyway, I enjoyed the conversations with everyone. The thing is, my heart goes out to all the brothers and sisters who have been Bethelites and have given years and years of service, all the sacrifice, thinking that they're serving Jehovah God, and then to find out that they're thrown out, with no support, no financial support or anything like that, no kids, nothing. And what's interesting about the whole thing is, it's like a real wake-up call for them, because they thought they had the security, being a Bethelite, the governing body members, their theocratic family was going to take care of them. They thought they had all their financial needs made and taken care of, and they had security. Well, then they realized, being thrown out, they didn't have security at all. And the bottom line is, they feel or have felt like we have, many of us, felt very betrayed by this organization. And like I've always said, it's a very, very large pill to swallow. But once you really realize that there is no security in this organization, because it's not godly. It's not godly. There's nothing Christian about it. It's a man-made corporation in the disguise of a religion that's going to use and abuse and take advantage of everybody any way, which way they can. And unfortunately, the pain is very deep, but people can survive. Rather than being a victim, they can become victorious. But it's a real wake-up call. And hopefully they wake up and realize that what they really needed was, like the brother said, Michael, was a relationship with Jesus Christ. What's happening with the Watchtower and all of us when we were in, they're worshiping the 8 and 9 bozos that are at the very top. That's who they're worshiping. And that's why it's collapsed for them, for their world, because they put their trust in earthly men. And the Bible says don't do that. So that's a lesson that they have learned that's very, very painful. Hopefully, they can get on their feet. I know many of them will have to go to welfare and get food stamps, and because the brothers and sisters, for the most part in the congregations, are not going to be helping them. And the other point, Rick, and then I'll finish. The other point is it's a real slap in the face, because this organization you thought was, your theocratic family, and they really loved you and they supported you and you gave everything to them. It's these kinds of lessons in life when you realize they didn't give a crap about any of us, and they still don't. And that's a very, very difficult, painful lesson to really realize. And my heart goes out to them. Many of them are elderly. They don't have kids. What are they going to do? So they have to take it one day at a time. Just a little plug. Rich and I are going to do a show on the governing body members and how wealthy they are. And they're so out of touch with reality to the average person in the world. So I'm looking forward to this discussion tonight. And we really want to wake people's eyes up, because you don't know what you don't know. So I hope people stay tuned and can really learn a lot and really realize it's just a corporation. Please wake up. Please wake up and move on with your life and have your own relationship with Jesus Christ. And, you'll be very blessed and you'll be very, very happy. You want to say something?
Yeah, Rick, just let me follow up. I'm sorry, Rick. I didn't mean to cut you off. We had your insider, Antis, and then we had Johnny the Bethelite. And we know that the Watchtower, the governing body, knows what we're saying. Okay. And they just don't give a damn. If you're in the mob and you're running guns and you're running girls and you're running booze, and all the nasty things that the mob does, they try to cover that stuff up. They try to hide it. Watchtower, they know that we know what they're doing, and they're not even trying to hide it, because they don't give a damn, and that certainly is the way it is. Thanks, Rick.
Okay, thank you, Dick. Well, we got, let's go with 6, 7, 8. You've got a minute. We don't have too much time. We're trying to get into another program. So 6, 7, 8, go ahead. You're on with us. 6, 7, 8, go ahead. You're on with us. All right. Well, I don't know where 6, 7, 8 went, but
I had a question. I had a question for you, Rick.
Go ahead.
Did somebody send you the entire regional convention of 2024? It's a 3 days convention, declared the good news. Do you have that in English or?
No, I don't have it all. I have some parts of it, but not all of it.
Okay. Well, I have mine in Swedish, so I was thinking I could go through it and watch and see if there is something interesting that I could bring up on some other news show you have. Well, thank you. Then I know.
Okay. Well, I don't have it all, so.
All right.
Well, thank you. All right, go ahead, Jeff. We got 2 minutes, and we got to go to where we got another program coming up. I got some more stuff we have to discuss. Go ahead, Jeff.
Okay. Yeah. American Airlines had they got a $50 million bonus, or not a subsidy from the federal government that come from the taxpayers. Anyway, they voted to give each one of themselves, the board of directors, there was 8 of them, a $3 million bonus. So, this is Watchtower. It's no different right there. I mean, these people do not live in poverty. They live in luxury, and it's a corporation. And that's what I got to say on that.
Well, don't leave that, but bring that back to me again. So who got the bonus? I mean, bring that back into light here.
It was American Airlines got a $50 million subsidy from the taxpayers. It was from us, and the board of directors voted to give them each selves $3 million bonus out of that $50 million. And there was eight people.
So how are you
on
tying
that board.
How are you tying that up with the Watchtower?
Well, yeah, the governing body is a board of directors, and it's a corporation.
So how would you tie American Airlines into the governing body?
Well, do you see any difference?
Well, I know it's
I mean, as far as that, the governing body, they're raking in the money. These folks are, look at Tony Morris in that liquor store spending all that money. I mean, I hear, what was his name? Jeffrey, I don't know. He's governing body member.
Jeffrey Jackson.
Yeah. Here he's got a demon over a Hellcat that cost $120,000. I mean, average witness ain't going to be able to afford that.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, no.
I'm just saying.
Well,
it's run like a corporation, Rick.
Well, I certainly appreciate your thoughts and connecting dots here. So thank you, Jeff, for calling in. Always good to hear from Jeff in Iowa. Thank you. All right, so let's do this. I got the picture of the week. That's something we're going to do here on the 6 screens. We got the picture of the week. I'm going to show you that picture here very shortly. Hold on 1 second. Let me get it up here so you can see it. We'll get the picture of the week, and then we can comment on it. This really was strikingly interesting to me, because Jehovah's Witnesses normally don't do things like this. But what you're looking at there is a picture of a rock in Seattle, Washington, where mountain climbers would climb up. And somebody put jw.org. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe yeah, so there it is right there. See that right there? I've got the point. That's jw.org on the rock. Now that is defacing property. I mean, someone got the bright idea to make the stones cry out. That's all I can think of. And I wonder why they would do something like this. I mean, when I was a Jehovah's Witness, you would like to follow the laws. You wouldn't do something. But maybe they're looking at this as informal witnessing. I have no idea. But that is deforming a mountain where rock climbers would climb. And now they're looking at jw.org. My first thought was, well, maybe it's not that. Maybe a man by the name of Jack Wills or something like that with the same initials would put it there. But I looked closer, and then I saw .org. I mean, that's disgusting. That a Jehovah's Witness would actually put that on a mountain climbing rock and etch it in stone. What is going on with this organization? Have you guys seen that at all? I mean, I want to put that up here tonight. I wanted you to see it. I mean, I don't know what we can say about it. I could open the phone lines up, but there's nothing to really say about it. I think that's disgraceful that jw.org would actually be scraped. I don't know how they did it. It wasn't painted. Somehow it was scraped into the rocks in this Seattle, Washington mountain climbing rock area. So, I mean, I don't know what to say. What can I say? I have no idea. So anyways, maybe the good news, some people would think, would be preached in all the inhabited earth. So let's inscribe jw.org on a rock. That is pathetic. That is defaming. That is unbelievable. Well, anyways, that's it. So listen, let's do this. Let's move on. We got JW News, JW World News. We're coming to an end here, but before we do that, we do have to get into our duck contest. Now, friends, nobody said the secret words tonight. So what we do every week is we will give you clues so you can win some prizes. We get some beautiful prizes here, so by all means, stay with us. We have some beautiful prizes. The duck comes down, but the duck didn't come down tonight. This is the duck right here. Now, if you said the secret word when you called up, we have it in a sealed envelope. If you said the secret word, we would give you a ticket. Now, you're going to get points. Each point is going to add up. So we'll do the program here tonight with asking questions. And if you answer the question properly, you'll get a point. But you have to do it yourself. You have to calculate it yourself and then say, Rick, I got these many points. I hope you go on the honor system. The first person that reaches 100 points will get $100. So let's wait and see for that. So, all right. So are you ready? All right. I see we have, okay. You got a lot of people coming in already. Let me just, all right. The first person that reaches 10 points, not 100, but 10 points, gets $100. But we have other prizes too. We have books to give out. We have magnets to give out, T-shirts. So you can do this yourself. You can track your points. All right, but stay on the honor system. Don't go beyond it. All right, so let me just hide this. So let's ask the first question here. Hello? Yeah, I don't want anyone to speak up until the music stops. We're going to play the music. When the Jeopardy music stops, then you can answer. If you answer before then, you will be disqualified. All right, so let's see if we can get some points here tonight. So let's ask the first question. Okay, years ago. Okay, listen. Hold your hand over your phone. I know a lot of people have their phones on, so hold your hand over the phone so it'll be nice and quiet for us, okay? So do that for me, and then we're going to ask the first question. Okay, the first question tonight is, hold on one second. Okay, so years ago, there was actually a test that Jehovah's Witnesses had to take during the meeting. And you would have to actually fill in the blanks or make comments on it. What was that test called? One second.
Written review.
Well, I'm going to go with, I think,
Written review.
was that you, Nadine?
Yes, it was me.
I think it was. So you get the written review. So Nadine gets a point. Put a point down, Nadine. Oh, how many points
Okay,
you get?
I have 4.
All right. When you hit 12, you get $100. Okay. So,
Awesome.
So you're doing good. Thank you, Nadine. You're doing very, very good. So let's see. I mean, so far, I think you're the champion here. I think you're the champion. Yeah. So you're doing good. So let's ask another question. Okay. Let's ask another question. All right. So anyways, when we used to go to the book study, did you have it in your home? If you did, you used to have like muffins and cookies and tea and coffee. And what did the witnesses actually refer to this as?
Goody night.
Well, Nadine, I think you got it again. I mean, you reading my notes or what?
No, I've just been there so many times, and we used to have it at my mom's, and I just know.
So, Nadine,
I know too much. I know too
I
much,
think you
Rick.
know too much. So, what did you have for Goodie Night? What did you do on Goodie Night? Tell us about that.
Oh, well, I used to make cookies all the time. I make homemade chocolate chip cookies and oatmeal raisin cookies, and it was mostly dessert because it was after dinner and just desserts and maybe like a coffee or decaf coffee.
So, did everyone stay around and have the Goodie Night?
Uh-huh. Yeah, of course. Everybody liked the cookies and everything.
Well, I think they like the Goodie Night better than the meeting, right?
Of course. Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I even have a story about a book study one time, but now's not the time to tell it. But
Well,
it has
okay,
to do
Goodie
with an
Night was-
elder.
Everyone remembers Goodie Night. I mean, we had a lot of fun with that.
Yes.
I mean, we did. I mean, that was one of the things, in fact, that showed the human side of the Watchtower. Isn't it nice to have people over and sit down, have a cup of coffee, a cookie, a muffin, and be able to chat about things? That was one of the better sides of the Watchtower. But I tell you,
Yes, it was fun.
It was fun. Yeah. Well, thank you, Nadine. My goodness.
So now I have 5 points.
You had 5
now
points?
I have 5.
Well, you're getting close to $100
Okay.
bucks. You're getting close to $100. So that's
I know.
All right. So let's ask the other question here. We got more questions we can ask. All right. So here's the question. Don't answer it till the music stops. All right. So if you went to a convention and there were witnesses working in the parking lot, I want you to give me the true color of their vest. Don't say yellow. I want you to say something that's the true color. Answer it when this stops.
Neon.
Oh, hold on. Let's go. Let's just take one at a time.
Hello?
Let's go. So let's go one at a time. What was the color of the vest? I don't want you to say yellow. It was a derivative of yellow. But what was the
Neon.
Blue.
Tangerine.
No.
Chartreuse.
Oh, wait a minute. The lady that just said chartreuse. Who said that?
That would be 864, Rick.
No, it was a woman. It was a woman. It wasn't a man. I had a woman. Who was the woman that said chartreuse?
Charlie.
Hold on. Just
No,
go nice.
I
And
said tangerine.
Who said chartreuse? It was a woman said chartreuse. Who said that?
517, Charlie.
All right. Well, Charlie, you go ahead, Charlie. You take a point. Take a point for chartreuse. That's the color. Okay. It wasn't yellow. It was a bright yellow. Thank you. Well, I'll tell you, you're doing great. That's wonderful. Okay. So let's move on. Let's go to the next question here, and we'll see what.
Well,
you think.
before you go on,
Yeah.
I analyzed that picture. It's fake.
What?
What?
It's a fake picture.
What's a fake picture?
The JW.org on the rock.
Well,
It's all fake.
I have nothing what you're talking about. Okay, just knock it off. Okay, I don't want you back on here. In fact, I think I'm going to kick you off. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's see what we got here. Let's ask another question. All right. Okay. So hold on a second. Don't be speaking up until we talk. Okay. I got to ask a question. I got a lot of people who want to answer the question. So everyone kind of hold your hand over the phone. Okay. So let's ask another question. At one point in the convention, you did not pay for food with cash. At the assemblies and at the convention, you had to use tickets. What color ticket was the $1 mark?
Hello.
Hold on 1 second. We got a lot of people calling in here at once. Who said white?
864.
864. I believe that was it. White was the $1 ticket. And they had different colors for different money, right? So I believe the white was the answer for that. So 864. Can I ask your name?
Yeah, this is Robert.
Robert, what did you think of the tickets for convention? I mean, did you applaud that or what?
You mean the food coupons?
Well, they had little tickets you had to buy the food with. I mean, I
know you had to.
Yeah. So what I used to think with those tickets, I used to always land up with a bunch of them, after the convention. I'd empty my pockets and I had like, $5, $6, $8, $10 worth of tickets. But then it would bother my conscience to use them at the next convention. I figured, well, just take it for a contribution. How'd you feel, Robert?
Well, I was really young at that time before they stopped doing that, so my mother took care of that, to be honest with you. But I remember those books.
Oh yeah. Well, you got to count your points, keep those points down. I think Nadine is in the lead. I think Nadine, what do you have, Nadine? 5? I think Nadine's got 5.
5.
All right.
5.
Well, the first person gets a 12, gets 100. But anytime, Nadine, you want to get a T-shirt, you want to get at 5 points, you can get you can get a book, you can get a T-shirt, you can get a cap, or if you want to hold on, you get $100. You want to hold on?
Okay, I'm going to hold on. I'm going for the big money.
You're going for the big money. Well, in fact, I can kind of tell that's what you'd like to do. So that's okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe I'll ask one more question here. One more question, then we'll go to Dick and Constance. All right. So let's ask this question right here. When we were all Jehovah's Witnesses, we really followed to a T the Watchtower doctrine. Now, when it came to giving a talk, we didn't give it on the platform. We gave it on what?
The stage. Oh, I'm sorry. The stage.
Did you say that, Nadine?
Uh-huh.
All right. I'm going to give you another one. I'm going to give you another point. Boy, you're getting so close. You are the winner here almost here. It's on. So that's 6, right?
Yeah, 6.
You're getting close to $100. You're getting close. What would you do?
Awesome.
What would you do with the $100, Nadine?
Oh my goodness.
I mean,
maybe buy some groceries.
Yeah.
Since everything's so expensive.
Yeah. Well,
since this economy is so terrible right now.
Yeah.
So
$100 doesn't go too far, but $100 is $100, right? So stay in the game.
I know.
Well, Nadine, so far you're the champion.
Hey, can you donate anyone's points that they win to Nadine?
No donations. No donations here. No. How many points you got?
Oh, I would like that. Who wants to give me their points?
Well, we can't do that. I think that brother that just called in, I think he's got 3 or 4 points, right?
Well, that's very sweet. I'll accept them.
Yeah.
Yes, I do have. This will be my 4.4.
Yeah.
4 points.
Boy, you're doing good. You guys are doing good. You're the Jeopardy champions here. Maybe what we'll do is at the end of this, when we reach the 12, we'll up the ante a little bit and bring you guys on maybe two of you guys together and ask questions. I think that might be kind of fun too,
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
Celebrity fair.
Yeah. Thank you, Nadine. Thank you very much. All right. Well, listen, we got to move on here. We got to end this program. We're going to D and C, Dick and Constance. We're looking forward to their program that's coming up next, right here on the Six Queens Telenetwork. Don't you guys go anywhere. And I want to thank you all for coming in. I want you all to stand tall. Don't you ever give in, up, or out. Keep waving the flag of victory. And the last one, leaving the Watchtower, please turn off the new light. So another comment I want to make, we do have 6 Screens Sunday tomorrow. So join us beginning at 1 o'clock. We have a number of programs. We take on a different feel. We get into the scriptures. We get into theology. We do that on Sunday. And we got some great programs coming up beginning at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, right here on the 6 Screens Telenetwork. So see if you can't make it. We have a program at 1 o'clock. It is called Knowing God After Leaving the Watchtower. We have 2 Christian apologists, Jody and Scott, and they will come on and they will talk about all the false teachings in the Watchtower. That's at 1 o'clock. Then at 2 o'clock, we have a program with Anne Marie coming out of California. The program is Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses Share Their Story of Being in the Watchtower. She'll be on tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Then 3 o'clock, we do JW World News, Sunday edition. At 4 o'clock, we have the Christian Court. That program is gaining a lot of momentum. And what that program does is it answers questions, peculiar Christian questions that Christians would ask. So that'll be tomorrow at 4 o'clock. And then 5 o'clock, if you have questions on the scriptures after leaving the Watchtower, Jay Hess, he's a former writer. He was associated with the Watchtower writing department. He'll be on here tomorrow at 5 o'clock answering your Christian questions. So anyways, let's end it there. Let's now go to Dick and Constance, the DNC program. Thank you for listening in. We really do appreciate your presence. Thank you.